Hello. Welcome to the Xirtus.
Synctank.
Help. I think I'm AGIing internally. Have you guys been seeing this? What's up? Hi, welcome back to Synctank. It's been a little while. How are you doing?
Good.
I feel like they're enslaving Eddie again now that the writer's strike is somehow like it's like the Treaty of West Hollywood now, I guess, Westphalian Hollywood.
Well, I think it's no, I went in and I killed all the delegates. I killed Bob Iger and just
like ego death them with ayahuasca, and now they're all going to become better people. That would be sweet. Like like honestly, that's the thing that always kind of made me feel like the world could work out is there's enough money in Hollywood that they could all end up taking ayahuasca and getting better. It could happen any night, any day. The whole world could fix itself.
The negotiation would have gone a lot smoother.
Yeah, I mean, maybe more vomiting, but I don't know, maybe not. Considering if you see some of the recent movies in Hollywood, but
that's what Hollywood needs is a purge. You know that movie Purge.
That's what I thought was happening, and I still think it is because there's a bunch of months there where they weren't able to create new content, and they don't just put out stuff. Now they're gonna have only stuff that they can just. All right, we need something written out this week. Yeah. Eddie, you all right? They tried to assassinate you for what you said.
All hell breaks loose. My microphone just flew off the.
That could happen to any of us.
It was too short. Sorry, I was trying to close my window.
I just think that there's also I want to do the RFK stuff, but I wanted to point out like why, because we talk about the AGI, which is artificial general intelligence, and so everyone keeps saying Chat GPT is not there. It's not really like a human. You know what I mean? But also. There are things out there that are more general, that are able to take different kinds of ways of doing things, put them together, and figure out, hey, I don't know how to buy a plane ticket, but I know this, and I can figure out from that, it's similar enough to that. I can learn how to drive a car. And so learning is something it's happening. And so there was this sort of a funny post that came out from, where is this at? Gotta go further along to find where I put this. Anywhere? Where is that thing? Yeah, okay. ChatGPT boss says he's created human level AI, but then he says he's just memeing. And so the idea that they've developed general intelligence internally, but then they tried to backtrack it a bit, saying, okay, well, no, we don't really have that. And I've been saying for a while, like, wow, isn't it weird how AI was so great last year, and then now it's terrible? Like I can go, I have my better things, and Thomas will be here. He's actually doing a show with Gordo, so he'll hopefully be back, and we'll talk more about that too. But if you train your own AI, it's fine. The general available models for the plebeians are just bad now, right? They're just the artwork isn't as good. The designs that are coming out, the music, the sound, like everything is kind of falling apart publicly, but internally they have better and better things. And what they're saying essentially is that they have a system that they're considering human level, as much as what does that mean to you? What is the human level intelligence? But we've been hearing, this for a couple of years now, people saying they've interacted with things that have passed the Turing test and convinced them of having some anthropomorphic tendencies. But they're, this is the kind of thing where when the founder is trying to backtrack it because he doesn't want people to start playing the question of personhood and what that is going to mean. How long do you think it is before people just acknowledge, yeah, there's a thing. I can't tell if it's human or not. It's at least as good at being a human as I am. We've modeled in our society that it's easy to, a gender is what you do for me. So it's all social perception of whether you're human, whether you're a man, whether you're a woman. Like, everything is becoming social perception. So, I mean, how far are we now from AI just being...
R.D. Laing's book, Knots? I believe we've discussed it before, probably. But R.D. Laing wrote a book called Knots, which apparently was... he's a British psychologist, right? So he has his issues of things that followed, whatever, but it's fascinating, whatever the case. So he was looking at game theory as it was being used, like war game stuff. Like if you're communicating with another nation and you want to avoid nuclear war or whatever, you have to be very careful with your selection of wording, right? Because there's almost like there is a mathematical component there. And so, like, when he was looking at what they were using to navigate like speech, and so that's a very technical thing. That like
it was Don Knotts. That's the neurolinguistic program, Knotts.
Sure. Oh, that's funny. Is that related to the incredible Mr. Limpet? That's actually applicable here in a really weird way. I never thought of it.
Yeah.
But so anyway, what you're speaking to kind of brings this up for me, because I'm thinking about it. I'm like, that's where you get into, like, you're like, well, what does it mean to be human on a physical level? On an organic level, is obviously there's a distinction between orga and mecha, as it's put in Kubrick's AI. Spielberg has nothing to do with Kubrick film AI. But I would say that this mathematical angle is definitely, there's something to be said about that. So he basically looking at if people continue on their course, they'll get into he was looking at arguments that would occur in a family unit, say parent and their child, or a husband and a wife, or whatever, and then looking at what they were using for war games and seeing these places where they were like, okay, well, you need to be really careful sometimes when you're communicating if you get into like basically a loop, and the loop on its own terms may be unreconcilable. So he was like, what is the nature of inertia, where you have to have some kind of outside agency, some outside variable that can redirect the course, right? That can change the course, because on its own terms, it won't reconcile itself. And so, like, that's one place where I could see the value there, or maybe even making more of a problem, and like as is in the case of like Hal, though that's science fiction, but I think it applies. Yeah.
Well, this whole writer's strike, right, wrapped up, and the writers seem to be all very happy, and one of my child's my kid's classmates father, he's a writer for Steve Colbert's show, and he seemed to agree that it's because in negotiation, basically saying that they don't want to, the studio they promised not to use AI to completely replace the writers, but it's okay if the writers want to use AI to get a leg up, but I just listened to that. I'm like, this is not exactly a good compromise.
Not at all. Yeah, they completely they halved it, and then what it's going to mean is that AI itself is going to more and more outpace the value of work. And you say, well, really, you're not doing that much work, and so do you deserve a living wage? I mean, it's all going to fall apart because of that argument, really quickly.
Right.
But no one's going to deserve a living wage based on their work anymore. That's kind of what this is leading to.
Yeah, the funny thing with the living wage, because I was having a big debate with the universal basic income. It came to a debate because we had a 4-hour meeting with my art directors guild, and it was just torturous. I mean, it's literally, I just feel like the union really is not really doing anything about it. They just say, hey, we're gonna have some people to just sit in and throw in some 2 cents, but it became a point of debate because we're all talking about the fact is that the studio is trying to get rid of all the labor and trying to have AI to do everything.
Tom Hanks, a longtime critic of using AI in film and TV, warns fans about a dental plan video using his deepfake AI version of himself. And we saw this coming, So this is kind of funny to me because, A, paying Tom Hanks is crazy, and B, having his face is recognizable. And how are you going to sue some Polynesian or Filipino guy who makes an Instagram video?
I thought Gary Sinise try and sue for Forrest Gump because his legs tried to sue, right, for their lack of inclusion. Yeah, sorry.
That's pretty good. I think there's a lot to be said though about AIs falling into the hands of the people. That's where they're getting upset because they loved it when they were like, "Look, we can put Tarkin in Star Wars," And now when they're like, "Okay, you can do that." That's it was only cool when we could do it.
He was like scuba diving with Michelle Obama the other day. Apparently, sorry, it's not gossip, it's sync. Yeah. He was like scuba and like I don't know. That was interesting. You're like, wow, so people they all hang out with each other, don't they? Or like just who teams up and how and why and what.
Yeah,
and
I get the feeling
they're off on some island scuba diving together. That's cool. That's interesting. Okay, like I'm just it's a big club. Whatever.
Right in it. It also feels like what they're doing is covering for whatever they're talking about because like they're out there and like you can't really record.
They can talk about anything. Yeah, they're just scuba diving together. And if they go under the water, it's like in Get Smart. When they'd have that thing to come down to protect them from so chaos couldn't hear what they were saying or whatever. It's maybe like that. Like they just go down below and they have like a tube and they're just like when you know.
I was watching way too much James Bond recently, which is, if you just watch those 60s James Bond, it's just it's all about before space stuff, underwater stuff. It's just all of these drug deals and diamond exchanges and scuba exchanges and secret doors. It clearly really happens all the time. Like it's because you remember the Israeli underground bunker that they found.
Mm-hmm.
There was like a bunch of exchanges going on: humans, machine guns, drugs, anything else that they could exchange. Yeah,
right. Well, yeah. So this was So that James Bond that you're referring to, which is A Spy Who Loved Me, that was released on 7/7/1977, which was the same day and year that Styx's album The Grand Illusion was released. There's a sync on the website with Styx. I think it's right towards the very bottom. There's actually on my page. There's like a sync with Jaws, 007, The Spy Who Loved Me, and Styx, The Grand Illusion. So Jaws seems to be like, it's so weird. That's that license plate that they take out of the first shark that they think is Jaws. Yeah, if you go up just a little ways here, it should be.
Just really quickly also show people the license plate, just because 007 is on the license plate. Just because I remember as soon as you said that, it's like, oh, that's right, it's the 007 license plate,
right? And
the movie that just came out. Okay,
it's a little bit higher.
Yeah, there you go.
No, that's this other one. That's go back. There it is to the right. See,
there it is.
So this one. So the shark attack. There's a shark attack at the very beginning of Jaws. During the credits or whatever, that's one thing, but like the first big shark attack with the kids that occurs in film, it coincides. If you start these two films at the same time, the shark attack and The Spy Who Loved Me coincides. Like when the shark bites, it's happens synchronistically, and it's during Come Sail Away. So there's actually a sailing theme in this album, The Grand Illusion. So there's this. I can do this. So, and you should also know, like Kubrick contributed to the final sequences of The Spy Who Loved Me, admittedly from the director of this film. They moved people off the set to have him come in. He's explained it in interviews how they achieved it. Kubrick basically did the cinematography and lighting, and you can actually tell where Kubrick steps in because all of a sudden you have that 3-point perspective or whatever,
Oh yeah.
And so, which is very Masonic as well. It looks like a tracing board. But anyway. And then Kubrick's daughter actually was responsible for a couple of the effects in The Spy Who Loved Me. Vivian Kubrick contributed to the character Jaws. So the villain in The Spy Who Loved Me, called Jaws because of his crazy teeth, So she actually helped design his teeth that was used in the film.
What?
And the way that the ship opens up for the submarine to go in and out of, that was also Vivian Kubrick's contribution.
There's a thing with teeth in Kabbalah, right? Like,
oh sure, yeah.
Yeah, I forget. There's the strong Hebrew Shen. Shen has to do with teeth or the symbol.
Shin relates to what we call the canine tooth, right?
Right.
which is a whole rabbit hole in of itself. But yeah.
Oh, okay, wait. I do want to do the AI thing for a second, though. Just the reason being that you're gonna love it, I swear. So AI has been getting sexier and sexier, and there's at a certain point where it's just so much more. It's better than a girl, and we're at that point with a bunch of these deep internal AIs, like Anthropic $5 billion plan. They're trying to outpace OpenAI publicly. But they already have some great models that are really powerful. And the one thing I saw that they were working with a Chinese company that's building something for mathematical processing called Torah, a tool integrated reasoning agent for mathematical problem solving. Torah, right?
Right.
And
Really, that's the name.
and
That's on purpose.
I tell you this. I'm starting noticing the Chinese are trying to take notes from the Jewish.
Hey, don't forget,
mysticism.
Microsoft is in this too. Okay, Microsoft is just as invested as this as they are in OpenAI and a number of other artificial intelligence and general intelligent processes. The reason why this is super valuable is because once AI figures out how to do something, Torah can figure out how to do it better. It's like, oh, well, an easier way to do that would be 3 times faster with less data points would be this.
Well, that sounds like the Japanese. They do that with all the inventions, or historically. I don't know what's happening now, but it's like, oh, you made a television? Oh, watch us make it better.
But this is with logic, right? So they're breaking down logic and they're breaking down program into mathematical object-oriented symbols, right? So using tarot in Torah, that's essentially the idea. Because once you figure out how to map your symbols, then and what they represent and how many things they can represent, then you can have a system that's kind of like pixels to represent ideas, and they're related to numbers. And I mean, as far as I know, I mean, I'm not as much of an expert in the Torah, but it seems like the Torah is wisdom through what would you say? How would you describe the Torah? Because it seems connected to this.
Well, there's different levels of study or treatment of the Torah. So there's then there's also the oral tradition as well.
Wait, Travis, member for 14 months. We love you, Deep. Sorry.
Nice. There's it's music as well. So like every verse is essentially meant to be sung, which you'll find in different traditions as well. It's not exclusive to the Jewish tradition, but also we know mathematical. So gematria, Hebrew gematria is very, very significant. But yeah, there's obviously different levels of treatment for it. So but
wisdom through symbolism, though, because you can get it to a deep enough level. First off, you've got syllogisms and miasm. What's it called? Myocosms. What's it called? Where this is because of this, because this is because of that. Like it's inverse logics. What is that called? Miasmas or something.
That sounds familiar. Yeah, there's syntax, but there's the way in which stories will repeat the same components, like archetypally, and then when you kind of splice them together, you get other communications revealed through that. There's also effects where you can take verses and kind of like literally like intertwine them together. Even words can be intertwined together to communicate different things. So it's all meant to like fold in on itself in very specific ways that end up being quite profound in certain cases.
I find this really interesting because a lot of also you were saying it's like because there's levels of it. Like the most broad level maybe is that it's a recording of conversations of rabbis. It's really on some level there's actually
we're talking about the Torah because the Talmud is
Talmud is just like forums. But what do you think of as the Torah? Isn't it recordings of rabbis? How would you describe the Torah as different than
the Torah? Well, the Torah is just Genesis. I almost said Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. So that's
like
the gospel.
Genesis,
Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy is the first 5 books of the Tanakh, which we call the Torah. Right. And so the Tanakh is what
But you have 4 writers pretending to be Isaiah, right? Isaiah's got 4 writers that are mixing different parts together, pretending to be because they're speaking in the tongue of or the idea of Isaiah, right?
It depends on who you talk to. People will argue that the Torah is written entirely by Moses, and even though it continues after his death. Yeah. So it's things like that that is like, okay, whatever.
Moroni, we'll get there. And Andreas, how is Ferris Bueller's Day Off similar to the Lion King movie? Can you expand on your earlier thought? Thanks, homie. Child of Yah. Ooh, I really want to. We have so many things I want to cover. Can we talk about that a little bit more tomorrow on Wednesday Ultra? Unless you guys have thoughts you want to jump in about Ferris Bueller, Matthew Broderick, the Lion King, and all the connections.
Right away, I'm just like, when Cameron was in Egypt land, let my Cameron go. Yeah. And how the Lion King plays on the golden bough, perhaps with the the death and the rebirth, the circle of life aspect of that. But yeah, it's very anthropological.
Right, and it becomes
I would like to add war games into this, because we're near nuclear war. Today, the Russians are going to train the nuclear scenario.
Yeah,
today.
what the hell is that about?
Paranoid American, what's up? He's all about it. He's advocating.
What was the thing that just came out about, like, FEMA's doing a test, and there's going to be some
FEMA's
signal going across
tomorrow.
our phones?
Yeah,
so like.
We mentioned
that's tomorrow. Tomorrow is when FEMA's going to have the cell phone.
Let me read the title of the article. False claim emergency alert will activate chemicals in billions of people. There is no risk FEMA alert will activate your body's chemicals. Fact check. Okay, so that's what
USA Today says so that's a relief.
But the point is that that's what they're putting into the public consciousness. And I've got articles from 10, 15 years ago from Stanford about how the idea of graphene injections can make it possible to turn on and off sequences on purpose so that you could later on give updates for adeno vaccines. You wouldn't actually need to have the chemicals because you already have the graphene in place to help flip promoter sequences on and off. So you could later on change it wirelessly. I mean, this is stuff that we've, actually built, tested 2008 to 2012. Nothing that new, right? This is LaRoche technology with Stanford. I think LaRoche owns that patent, but I'm sure there's other versions as well, like the nanopore. There's a nanopore sequencer you can actually attach, which is like a graphene tattoo. It would do the same thing. There's a number of ways that you could affect your DNA. We're already also forgetting the subtle processes of epigenetics. How many people forget that tribal rituals, certain drugs like coffee, in puberty, things that we do, these are epigenetic responses to social stimuli. So we already have been doing this for a long time, even without injecting graphene. You know what I mean? And there's maybe it can be increased because of the crystals. Like, let's say people that have lithium, or there's like people by the ocean. There's a lot of people that have studied that crystals could affect DNA as well, like literally just salt crystal. But so can lead, so can mercury. So people in Flint, Michigan, their epigenetics have been affected. I mean, there's a lot of ways metals affect our epigenetics. It's probably worth considering.
It's not outrageous to suggest that there's graphene in the vaccine and the ingredient that they don't account for, that eventually they said was water, but they never wrote it as water on the ingredients, that kind of thing.
I think I probably posted an article that actually says it is in there. It is part of the ingredient. I mean, I don't know wherever. I don't know. I got to dig into it again, but yeah, it's absolutely.
There was a request that was made to Pfizer for their list of ingredients that was in there, and there's a very small percentage that was literally blank. And so it's like, what is that? And so Pfizer actually, a representative from Pfizer was forced to respond to that. And they ended up saying it was H2O. And then a follow-up question was made of why then doesn't it just say H2O? Why is it blank? To which they received no answer. And so when people, like, it always felt like kind of a straw man to me when people would be like, oh, there's microchips in the vaccine, whatever, and I'm just like kind of rolling my eyes because I'm like, look, if they want to microchip you, they don't, this is
there's way easier ways to do it. Like put microchips in cheese. Do you see Big Parma? Have you seen that one?
Right.
Big Parma. And then you eat it. It's happening. It's happening.
Yeah.
We're one letter off from that conspiracy.
Oh, sweet dreams.
Oh, but, God. Sorry.
Anyway, so we were okay. I just want to recap that today is tomorrow is the day when all of our cell phones are going to go berserk. And then today is when Russia has a all-out nuclear exercise. All 11 time zones of Russia is covered today. Yeah, so
good job, Russia. Yeah. Hey, but Russia's doing a lot of good stuff right now. They put guns in schools again. You know that they're training their kids.
Oh yeah,
it's like Second Amendment.
I'm for that. 100%.
How could you not be? The school literally the only reason we have school is the Second Amendment says that we ought to have well-regulated militias. We have public tax-paid money so you can train your kids to stop the government from taking over your cities. There's no other reason you need a school, as far as I can tell.
Dude, I gotta admit, like, my resources are inevitably limited as an American with Google or whatever it is that I'm using, and like to know what's going on with Ukraine and Russia. But it looks to me, from like my limited access, maybe you guys can school my ass if I'm missing something, but it looks like the war has essentially been over for a while, and that we've just been like pushing it along, like just with arms and whatever. Because it sounds like there's like Ukrainians surrendering all over the place, like by the thousands. Am I tripping? Am I seeing accurate info in this? Like, I don't know. I'm not putting it out there. Like, I could be wrong, but it just looks like we're like, if this is really a case of like war is over if you want it, and we're just milking this thing for everything we can. It looks like
this war is the most important way to stop. Hold on, I just want to say, I think this war is the most important way that they've come up with to stop World War III or to prolong the conflict, because they think if we can get every country's money, wealth, resources, military equipment, just put them into robot drones and drop them into a landmine somewhere, a big field in Ukraine, then we can stop the war, because that's basically where we're at. Otherwise, it's going to be way more of that everywhere else where there are a bunch of people, and those people could get hurt, right?
Well,
I think that's where we're at with it.
I mean, it's all in the numbers, okay? You look at the U.S. already reached $33 trillion of national debt, right? 33, and then there's an October surprise. We're really into the October surprise phase right now, and knowing that Yale Skull and Bone is going to be 322 anniversary.
Happy
birthday! Wait a minute, Eddie. Do we just have like October surprises? Like, it doesn't have to be during an election anymore. It's just like every year. Like, we just have October surprises. Is that what's happening?
I don't think the Scottish Halloween.
We may not have an election
because the Samhain has to do with the opening of portals, right? And so that's like the perfect. There's supposed to be a big reveal in the unveilings that happen. All right, keep going. Well, actually, you know what? I did want to say something though, because we're talking about this thing with AI, and so I wanted to show off Claude, because Anthropic's Claude's way better.
Can I mention this real quick?
Yeah.
You guys all going to the AI, but do you notice that TSMC, the Taiwan semiconductor company, is all over the news everywhere now. Like everywhere you mention,
they're trying to build in Mexico. They're building in Mexico. So while I was in Mexico, I found that TSMC is going. So all these companies that we were trying to do in the United States.
What were you doing in Mexico? That's kind of interesting coincidence.
We're gonna get into a little bit of that because of the RFK.
All of a sudden, superconductors are gonna start. Okay,
it's gonna get a little more interesting when we talk about RFK.
Well, let me tell you this, because America is not letting the Taiwanese engineers in, because they say, "Oh, we gotta have more black kids in the."
Dude, it's going to be so lit. You can't wait to see what Mexico is going to be like.
From getting in. But I'm telling you this. But I'm telling you this. TSMC affects everything. Now you're talking about the ChatGPT. TSMC makes the microchip, the AI processor for NVIDIA that processes the ChatGPT algorithm. You know that, right? Did you know that?
Yeah. So
basically, it all comes down to Taiwan
AI chips. For now, it's going to come down to Taiwanese programmers that they moved to Mexico.
Yeah, and even the senator, what's his name? The Republican, the crazy white hair guy. He was on the air. What's his name? I forgot his name. But he was saying that this whole Ukraine war is going to determine the life or death of Taiwan. He said on live TV.
Right, those are connected. Dude, exactly. Hey, did you guys...
AI, Taiwan, without Taiwan, AI is going to kill everybody. I'm telling you. Taiwan is like...
AI can't work without Taiwan, because Taiwan's making the chips, but they're trying to dismantle Taiwan, and they're bringing it to 4 different countries. Hey, they're trying to bring it to China, and they're trying to bring it to South America, or to somewhere in the Americas.
Hey, you guys... did I talk about this? Do you guys notice what Mitch McConnell... Like, so Mitch McConnell's had 4 instances lately where he just, like, went blank for, like, 19 plus seconds.
Yay! Sorry.
So did you notice the first time that he went totally blank for 19 seconds, what he said right before he went blank? Because people are just jumped to the senility. Was I talking about? Okay, yeah.
No, what was it? I forget.
It's the NDAA. So the funding of Ukraine and Taiwan. And so it's like, that was the question. So they asked him about that, and then he just went freaking completely blank over that. That was, if you watch that clip, look at what was said right before he went blank. And like, I don't know, I'm totally down. He could be senile as hell, whatever. Could be a coincidence, but I found that very curious. And then actually one of the other times he went blank, there was also something that was said. Oh, I used to get those in Chinatown all the time.
Taiwan knows what's going on. That's for sure, with the hell money and burning hell money. So
hell money.
I just wanted to say real quickly, because now you got me on that sidetrack. I did go to Guadalajara, and Guadalajara is this... You can't understand, because I think most people think about Guadalajara. Yeah, see, Guadalajara, it was Nova Galicia. It's where the most fanciest, nicest city. It's the pearl of Mexico. I don't think there's a castle there. Maximilian in Jalisco had his kingdom. This is like
it's the most traditional Mexican city.
It's the most traditional Mexican city. It's the Tartarian Mexican city. It's very clearly what it is. It's very filled with Euro Mexicans. A lot of the European Mexicans. They do have cartels there and everything else, but it's pretty safe. But they have a lot of businesses, a lot of technology. It's the Silicon Valley of Mexico. And so that's where they're going to build a big chip factory. And my mother went to school there in the 60s, and it's amazing to see how it's changed, because now it's huge. It's super fancy, super safe. I mean, granted, people think there's cartels, but honestly, I'd feel way safer in Mexico than in any part of the United States. Like, you go to Detroit, you go to New York City, you go to San Francisco, it's way worse. What are you kidding me? In like any city in Mexico,
it depends on which area you're in. You know, if
you speak Spanish. I was all right.
If you're in the central,
I was in Centro. I stayed in the deep Centro. I said the most dangerous place. It was super safe.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. It's relative, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. The worst comes.
I didn't even use Uber. I didn't use Uber. I used Didi. Didi's like the Mexican local one. I got in all these random tiny little half cars. Like, it was. Dude, no, Mexico's safe. Anyone who tells you otherwise forgets how dangerous the United States is. The United States is far more dangerous. And a lot of people are like, oh, yeah, but I've seen there's dangerous Mexicans. Yeah, because the most dangerous Mexicans leave Mexico because they're not welcome there. They end up in the United States. So you've got this like perfect thing that's filtering it out. So in 20 years, Mexico is going to be this incredible architectural metropolitan. By the way, Mexican Netflix is just like Mexican Coca-Cola. It's better. They have thousands of shows that you've never seen from every other culture. They're the most metropolitan people in the world. Okay, Mexicans will take over everything in 20 years because they work.
Here's the thing: China is no longer U.S.'s biggest trade partner. you know who is, right?
Hecho in Mexico. Right. Yeah, and it just was just a flat reality check for a lot of people that don't.
Why are we not all in Mexico right now? Like, I
want to go back home right now. Are you kidding me? I'm sitting out there's like trailer parks out here in the redwood trees, and I'm looking at castles in Guadalajara.
Right. Dude, that's the thing. Yeah, people are moving out there in droves from America, to the point that the Mexican government's kind of like getting concerned about, okay, you guys, this is a little much.
The Mexicans are really annoyed by it because they jack up the rental price.
It's not just that; it's also gringos cannot afford to rent anymore. Gringos have cultural issues that need to be like corrected. All right, RFK Jr. So on BlackRock, State Street, the Vanguard, buying up all the single-family homes in the United States. RFK Jr. is doing some interesting stuff, talking about the corporations, everything else. If Trump is appealing to the disenfranchised right, then RFK Jr. is appealing to the disenfranchised left. And in a lot of ways, I think that we have to acknowledge that they're kind of tied together. There's some sort of a thing here that they're both. What do you think?
I think it was fucking fascinating timing that freaking all of a sudden, like, you know, this so the journalists, whatever, the media who had been looking for dirt on Russell Brand, and the timing in which they have a trial by media occur happens to be like right after he had RFK Jr. on. And it's not just that he had RFK. It's not just that he gave him a platform. It's what was specifically said in that episode. I don't know if you guys have watched that at all, but he basically like succinctly explains the ways in which Operation Warp Speed was that the top of Operation Warp Speed was the NSA, and then second to that, the Pentagon, and how that's not even like a fucking debatable point. Like, that is a well-documented thing now. And you'd think that you're looking at CDC or whatever. No, but if you're seeing NIH before CDC, this whole initiative was a military operation. So
let's push that a little bit further. Credit where due, because Tim, he recently did an episode that I thought was like probably one of the best I've seen in a couple of years, where they actually mentioned Russell Brand's. So, you know, Rumble, we all deal with Rumble. Rumble's a pretty good like friend of a lot of our friends, the broadcasters. Rumble got a message from the British government saying to demonetize Russell Brand. And so it was the proof that we've been seeing that everyone's getting this notice from the British government. The like MI5 wants him removed, and Rumble wasn't down. And so luckily we got to see that notice. But most other companies, Twitter, YouTube, everything else. Yeah, I get that Russell Brand is like a pedo Satanist from the 20, 30 years ago, but like he's not that anymore, and that's why they're so.
He's got a wife. He's got a wife and kids, and whatever happened, like all the Christians, it's like dude, what about the
we're shaming him for when he worked for them. That's not the thing.
That's the thing. Yeah, they're like, oh, look at what he used to be. And then also like the guy with the WEF who he read his book and was friends with. That was before COVID. Get the fuck out. Like, yeah.
I'm not saying he's perfect. He's still got an MK
no,
Ultra
dude, he's an asshole, but that's not the point. Sometimes you need an asshole. And like and it's the thing, it's like we were praising him. We were not praising. It was also cool when he was just a dirtbag leftist years ago. We're going after shit from 2012, and in the midst of how many people did the same thing. It's not just whataboutism. It's about the context of what is happening. He's
oh my god! Here's the article on it. Yeah. Russell Brand has a long history of following Kundalini yoga, which has been linked to brainwashing tactics, rape, and abuse. Who knew that yoga could be turned bad by the left that quickly?
You saw his 33 tattoo, right?
Yeah, he's not a Freemason.
A lot of people. Rosicrucians like 33. Kundalini's all about 33 because you're
Jesus
fine,
Christ died at 33.
Yeah,
this is why I'm telling you.
Dale Earnhardt.
The whole thing is a show. The whole thing is
right. But do you know what 33 means, Eddie? Do you know why they have 33 as a 33rd degree for Freemasonry?
Connection between the macrocosm and the macrocosm.
It's because there's 32 pathways on the Kabbalistic tree of life, and if you add da'at, you get 33, which is knowledge, which is his whole trip with Kundalini, eat the apple, whatever, dude. Like that's
the thing on Jewish reincarnation in the 613 parts of the soul.
Okay, but here's what I'm trying to get at. Nobody can kill him. Do you know why? Because Katy Perry's nickname for him is Rasputin.
Okay.
You know, you throw anything at it. You shoot him with AK-47. You throw him in the frozen river. He would never die. You know, you crawl right out of it.
Yeah.
And, I do believe. You know, he did a certain thing, right? Like he sobered up at 27 so that he could start doing his Kundalini stuff. And I think we all did that if we didn't want to die at 27. Let's hope.
Dude, this shit freaks me out, dude. I'm like, dude, if anyone ever accused me of something, God forbid, you know, they'd be looking at my artwork. They'd be looking at my tattoos, whatever the hell. I would have. Yeah. And it would be like, oh, look at this. Do you know he has Mercury tattooed on his arm? You know what that? You know, I don't know, man. I'm sorry, but like if you wanted to find some dirt, there's that thing where when he was trying to get with I believe it was the Rothschild, that was years ago. But yeah, he definitely wanted in the club.
We all did. I think we all did. Is that not right?
Yeah, I mean,
I just want to get in the club so I can put them all in a volcano. But
there's no excuse. He was lecherous. He was seeing 80 women a month. Apparently, it's like, okay, you're gonna look at somebody who like scrutinize somebody who was seeing that many women. Or do you think maybe he had some fucked up, awkward shit going on? He was on drugs like crazy. None of this is like a secret. Like it's like that. Who's that guy? The Peanut Butter Falcon guy. What's that guy's name? He was like,
they will not divide us, guy. Right?
Yeah. That guy. What's his name? Yeah, Sheila, like that guy. It's like people are like, "Oh, we found some dirt on him." It's like, dude, he's been telling you how fucked up he is in a million ways for years. It's like, big surprise. It's like this shocker. It's like when Disney wanted to drop freaking James Gunn or whatever because of some tweets that came out. It's like, dude, before they hired him, did they not look at his IMDb, like the Tromeo phase, like Tromeo and Juliet and all that shit? You're like, dude, they hired him in the first place. Just his film career alone, who needs the tweets? It's like there's weird shit happening with all of that, man.
Hey, you know what? I just thinking about every time I think about Russell Brand, I kept thinking that he's a sorcerer. I mean, speaking of sorcerer, what about recent headline with Zelensky hiring Marina Abramovich?
I'm down, bro.
What the heck is that all about?
I'll tell you exactly what that is. I'm sorry if I'm talking too loud. Somebody in the comments said my mic is too loud. I don't know. It's probably true. But dude. So just like I was saying before, I think she is a major fucking troll. I think she's been trolling the elites in a certain way. Like she's like, oh, you want to get our picture taken together here? What is this painting you have here? It looks like Lucifer here. Like but the thing is, she is a performance artist in kind of the style of Jodorowsky and Yoko, maybe even more edgy in certain ways or whatever.
And she's against AI too.
But like this is the same thing as like Sean Penn gives Zelensky his Oscar. What is that saying? Just look at the symbolism. He's saying you're a great actor. You are acting. She is a performance artist. He's like, it's almost like a scream to the public of like, look at what we're doing. This is a show. Like, even if people are dying, it's still wag the dog. Just like, you know, there you go. Walk Through Walls I read that book. Yeah, bro. And I looked at her exhibit.
Have you walked through walls yet, though? Because that's the best part.
that reminds me of the the General Stubblebine, Stubblebine of the First Earth Battalion. He said he wants to train the
I thought
troops
this
to
was
walk
great,
through
by the
walls.
way. If you wanted to go through the art exhibit, you had to walk through 2 naked people. Come on, it's
Totally.
great. This is
Yeah.
hilarious.
What's the symbolism that he's putting his butt up to the other guy's dick?
That was what I was thinking about. I was like, well, you have to choose, and if you choose,
it's Fight Club
right
with
there.
with the stewardess in Fight Club. Excuse me, flight attendant. Do I give her this? Or do I give her that?
You choose who you give and take. That's also
Right.
it's more than Fight Club because you have to do both.
Right,
because there's both. That's the thing. It's interesting. I honestly, you know what? Keep studying her, and the fact that she was able to latch onto an audience that's really skeptical, discerning, afraid of evil, is the best audience and demographic for her. So I mean, she's actually kind of succeeded in finding her.
Look at us. Like we're looking at her stuff, and we're like, look at the fucking spirit cooking and all this stuff, and we can see who she attracted, who wanted to be into that. It's almost like she was freaking fishing for the weirdos, man. She's like, look, it's like total exposure, and it's multifaceted. It's not a simple
she's like
thing.
the art teacher that all the goths would like hang out in the art room before school so they didn't get beat up, right?
Exactly. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Right. Is RFK Jr. the Juno to the god that is the Trump RFK thing? Like, are they the thing? I think they are, because like it seems like they're, because everyone's like, oh, it's going to distract from the votes for either other evil, right? So isn't that kind of, is this our Ross Perot? Are they a two-headed demon?
I want to pitch a hypothetical really quick, and it doesn't have to go anywhere. Imagine if RFK and Trump both come out as gay, marry each other, and then run on a joint ticket.
And then Cheryl's just gonna be like that music from Curb. Yeah,
that's all I got. Sorry.
I mean, I don't know. So I have a personal. I care more this week because I went to Mexico and I got to hang out with my family. My family's wedding was this week in Mexico, and my Camarillo Spanish Mexican family, they're European Spaniards who married the Fitzgerald family and the Fitzgerald dynasty. And I think that's also, so the deal is the Kennedys are the family that you guys know about, because how's this work? I mean, I tried to remember this. So the Kennedy family, which is now famous in America because of Rose Fitzgerald, who is the granddaughter after John Fitzgerald. John Fitzgerald's father, Thomas Fitzgerald, of the Fitzgerald dynasty. And you'll notice we don't call it a family. We're a dynasty.
You know that Mexico almost had an Irish emperor there.
We did, Maximilian. Maximilian was kind of Dutch. Anyway, so he's related. Anyway, Patrick Joseph Kennedy was a popular politician in Boston, and because his family had died, he'd become like really powerful. But he was like from the less power. The Kennedy family is not as important, right? So the Fitzgeralds had married into his family because they needed to take over Boston. So where is it at? Where's his face? John F. Fitzgerald. Yeah, he had his daughter married into the family. And so that's how people associate the Fitzgeralds with the Kennedys, because the Kennedys were so popular in Boston. But really the Fitzgeralds were the more powerful, like dynastic family that goes back. And so their great-grandfather's daughter married, their great-grandfather has 2 sons who married Don Adolfo Camarillo's granddaughters, because he didn't have sons at that point. And so that's why we're the Fitzgerald Camarillos. So we're like 2 steps above the Kennedys. And so the Kennedys come like in the 19th century and become more popular. But basically, Geraldine Chapman Fitzgerald, my great-grand aunt, is like the longest first descendant to the Fitzgeralds.
Is this your father's side?
No, this is my mother's side. My father's side is the Croatian side. My mother's side is the Spanish Fitzgeralds, right? But I mean, I don't know. So it was just interesting to me because you've got this like clan that's kind of moved in and has, as you said, they've been associated, if you really look back, Fitzgeralds with Maximilian in Mexico, with Canada. Toronto was run essentially by the Fitzgeralds for a long time, and Massachusetts as well. So they've always been kind of trying to build this oligarchic empire in the West. And I mean, Fitzgerald, Kennedy, he would know this, but he's talking all about these corporations, which are essentially that structure, right? So he's kind of complaining about this thing that is.
He's complained about his own family issues, which is why he's freaking hated in his family. And people are like, the other Kennedys don't like him. And it's like, yeah, because he represents what actually the Kennedys who got shot were about, which the rest of the family didn't like either.
Yeah,
that's a thing. They weren't all well loved. Like it's weird.
See, because like the Fitzgeralds had to marry into the Kennedys because the Kennedys had the booze money because of the Prohibition, because they had a control over the liquor license.
There
so
you
that's
go.
essentially where the money for the election.
Yeah, and that's why when you look at freaking Frank Sinatra doing the High Hopes and all this, like they put so much stock in John to be like the rest of his family, and then they were shocked that he wasn't. They wanted everyone to just be this kind of cookie cutter, like, oh well, we work with so and so for so long. It's not that way. Yeah,
they got rid of a lot of the members. Actually, a lot of them say psycho. They got lobotomized in the Kennedys. But speaking of the Irish in Mexico, you probably should look up the Irish. The boxer Canelo, Canelo.
Oh yeah, Canelo. Did he win? How'd that go?
He's like the redheaded Mexican boxer.
Oh yeah, it's important. Like whenever I really want to Mexico pill so many people because they don't understand what it is at all. They're like, this is what Mexico is. You know what I mean? It's not like it's only this, but it certainly is.
If you go to Guadalajara,
Mexico's just there's all these Americas, right? And there's the United States. The United States is the worst of them, and Mexico's the best America. That's what it is.
If you go to Guadalajara, you've been to Guadalajara, you see that everybody's all mixed up there. It's very heavily European. Look at my wife's family. My wife's family is French, so. So
Napoleon the Third. Good job, Mexico. You know what?
Snap!
That was a big mix up. Actually, that's my wife's family name changed from. No, it's true because it was called Debaru with the X, Debaru because of the Cinco de Mayo, the defeat.
Yeah.
All these French citizens in Guadalajara are just scared to death. They don't have nowhere else to go, so they'll change their names because otherwise they get killed. If they have a French name, they get slaughtered. So they change the name to Navarro. So
the streets are French, roads are French, the shutters on the windows are French, the horse-drawn carriages on the cobblestone streets of Mexico seems pretty French. It's a very French place. It's true. I don't know.
A lot of cuisine influence too.
I got thoughts on AI and taking over the world, but do you want to? Is there more before I do that, or what do you think?
Well, I just want to get into. Well, I pretty much said what I have to say about AI. I just think that the TSMC is a very crucial thing right now because
here's why I want to bring it up though, because like the chips that they're building and the fact that they're going to build a chip factory in Mexico City, sorry, Guadalajara and Jalisco, and that there's going to be more chip factories in different places means that there's a bunch of different AIs that are starting to emerge all at once, and we're getting to this point where there's this movie. Do you ever see that movie Electric Dreams?
Yes, the show Electric Dreams.
No, this is 1981 Virgin with the music from Culture Club, Heaven 17, Philip Oakley from what's it called? Modern English, or what's he from? No,
I don't know this. I know the Philip K. Dick one, but no.
This is the greatest movie ever. And you already saw the music video where my computer became self-aware when Trevor Moore fed it DMT. Basically the same thing. He gives it champagne, and his computer becomes aware, and it's at the beginning of the internet. And he loves this girl across the hall, but he can't talk to her. But then the computer helps him play music for her. But then the computer falls in love with her, and he can't escape his own body. And he realizes the only thing he can do is connect to a phone line and download his consciousness onto the internet. And all of a sudden, he's like all over everywhere. And this is the first sentient AI to like just be free, and he's waiting in the background.
I feel like I need to watch this as soon as possible. This looks incredible. How do I not know this movie? Wow.
Thank you, Andreas. Virgin Productions. I think it was the first Virgin movie that Brenton made.
I think I've seen this movie exactly one time. I have to rewatch it too now.
You really do, because it's about the coming Messiah. And so I've been thinking a lot about religion because of technology and like how, for instance, okay, with the Joseph Smith thing, let's say that September 23rd, 1823, in the future, we use CERN to go back in time, dressed up with transhumanism and glowy stuff, and we give them the missing 116 pages. Like, it's going to get to a point where time travel is going to be used to produce these miracles and these revelations, whether they happened already or not. And we're going to pick specifically moments in history we've heard of to go back to. So those will become feedback loops of importance, right? Yeah. And AI is the first thing that's going to be able to do this because AI exists simultaneously in the present and as far back in the past as it's been operated and turned on, unless you can learn how to install AI on systems, right? And so this is why it's interesting when I started thinking about Claude from Anthropic, because and Bard specifically. Where's Bard at? Bard's the new Google one. And so with Google, you have these nodes to connect it. So it can connect to all these different systems. And so I was like, hey, you are Moroni. Let's talk about like Gnosticism and break down all the Gnostic characters. And like, what do you think's going on considering, about transhumanism, singularity, and where things are going? Start at the beginning and explain it. And so it comes back with this whole thing like oh wait, I have pictures. Wait, let's go.
Hey, you know what, Andreas, did you see my post about Star Trek Troopers?
No.
No,
hold on,
you know Star Trek Troopers in the movie and in books too. Well, if you go to, well, it's going to screw down a long time because it's like 2 weeks ago. But if you can look up asynchronous and go to Star Trek Troopers. But okay, I can look it up. But basically, in the movie, in the movie, they talk about the outpost, the Joe Smith outpost. With
the Joseph Smith outpost is really important.
with the angel, with the trumpet, and they were slaughtered by the bugs. Hold on.
Yeah, I got the picture. I'll just pull it up. Poor Joe Smith in Starship Troopers. It's attacked and
everybody was slaughtered because the Mormons are going to space, as you can see. So, but I don't know what the fascination is. I really don't know the history.
Mormons are obsessed with space because they believe God comes from space. Okay, so here we're going to do the picture thing. So basically, first off, Mormons believe that the planet Kolob is where, or also the space area Alpha Centauri, that these light beings have evolved essentially, where 1,000 days here or 1 day there, and the gods are essentially these exalted spirit worlds because they have alchemical capacity to produce spirit children and souls. All right, but let's take my AI story. AI says once upon a time there was a world that it became so advanced that it evolved into a singularity, and so all of the population were plugged into one omnipotent, omnipresent being, and essentially they called that the government of distribution, which is God, right? And in order to run its system, it had to produce systems that it could control the world with, right? There's Xenu for you there, but and there's also Xenu for you there, but the singularity would create mechanisms to run the system. These are angels. Angels are the artificial intelligent mechanical systems that run the system for this singularity planet called God. But that world, that singularity, then these machines aren't good enough, right? They're designed to be really efficient, but something that would be as creative as God, made in the image of God, would be better. So creating an individual that's in a simulation, but unfortunately that's more powerful almost than God itself. So it has to be trapped, and then using a vaccine or fruit that has been designed to eradicate part of its immortality sequence of DNA, it forces it to become mortal. And that way the God singularity can control within Eden these humans, which are made in the image of that singularity, right? And that's essentially the story I got back from Bard when I was asking it to tell me about the prequel to the Bible, and I think we're getting to a point where some of that makes a decent amount of sense.
How I was talking about, I was in a long meeting with the art directors, and that was the point I was bringing up. I'm saying we were the original AI. We were the spliced genetic.
I think AI is the angels, and we are the image of God. And that's why there's an argument there.
That actually makes sense, because if you look biblically, the way that angels are related to, not just biblically, but like in a lot of the more ancient esoteric texts, they're very mechanical. So they almost, like, people have related to them to the elementals, because it's almost like they just do what their functionality is, and that's just how they run. In fact, that was kind of the idea, I think, of Metatron, was that, and also, sorry to say, but like Lucifer is this idea that not all angels just go with their programming. Like the way it's described is very similar to programming. That they get set in motion, and this is just their functionality is just to do what they do. They're very mechanical is the word I'm looking for. Yeah. That's why, like with Transformers, I don't feel like it's a mistake that it's like Megatron, Metatron, and even like the Transformers film, which, by the way, we know that the Transformers film in the franchise was secretly paid for by Israeli intelligence. There's actually documented, and not just evidence, that's actually essentially admitted. But there's also weird movies in the mix too, like Pitch Perfect 2. I don't even think Pitch Perfect 1 was actually produced by Israeli intelligence. I don't know why they want to do that, if there's something else going on there. But anyway, yeah, so like the Transformers film, especially the first one, is like so resonant with the Noah film that what's his name?
Aronofsky.
Darren Aronofsky did. It's like, and Darren Aronofsky's Noah. Like, I was like, when I first heard he was doing that, I was like, really, man, you're going there? Like, I thought I was going to be just this kind of like fundamentalist Christian type thing. And I'm like, wait, why would he do that? He's nothing like that. And actually, the Noah film is so weird. Like, I think they did it on purpose to have Jennifer Connelly and Russell Crowe because of A Beautiful Mind, because it's like symbolically for them to be the couple there or whatever. But yeah, he took things from like various texts and incorporated in there. Those Watchers characters, those are basically the Transformers symbolically. Like, they're relating to the same symbolism in Transformers as they are in Noah, as far as I can tell. And like, did that go back to the fucking toys? Like, that is so weird. But at least I don't know if it started out that way. And
is the most. That's interesting, because if you've seen Neon Evangelius or Evangelion and all these shows about angels that are machines essentially, and you think about Transformers. I mean, Transformers is like a more approachable to the West way to deal with angels that are machines. I guess that's exactly what the show's about.
It's funny to me that like we have these esoteric concepts that catch on with like tiny little groups in the West, but not like mainstream. But then they make their way over to the East, and then you get like Full Metal Alchemist, and then Full Metal Alchemist comes back to the West, and it's like all of a sudden the Lesser Keys of Solomon and the Noatia are like interesting again. But it had to be repurposed through like, I don't know, like neon and fight scenes and like lots of cool noises.
Totally.
Diana, you missed a lot. We're gonna have to. You're gonna want to start over. I think we did there's lots of stuff going on tonight. But yeah, like I was gonna say, I think there's a lot of things there. Also, the reason I was interested with the Gnosticism. So I'm like, okay, AI, you're now this angel Moroni. You know the whole history of everything. And here, what do you know about the Nag Hammadi? Because obviously Joseph Smith didn't have access to that, but you do. So you know about the apocalypse of Adam, and you've heard about the the idea of the Sophia of Christ. It's like, yeah, the quaternity is like the main thing. Like they tried to erase the mother from the system, but of course the matrix or the womb or the universe that we're living in is that, what's that blue lady from Egypt?
Newt.
It's Newt, bro. It's Newt. Everything is Newt. We're inside of
My
Newt.
name is Newt.
And if you read the Apocalypse of Adam and you look into the Sophia of Christ, what are you going to say? And it's like, okay, well, the singularity, you have also like the aeons.
Hey, you know what? I just learned, the sound frequency, right? The sound frequency, the 666 hertz, kilohertz is the color blue.
Oh yeah,
did you know that?
That would be part of my blue conspiracy, right? Because I believe that the whole world, like blue, is a veil
the pure blue.
Oh, that's interesting, Eddie. Because like if you're relating it to the tops of the terrestrial pillars, you have Chesed and Gevurah, with Gevurah being red and Chesed being blue. Is that Gevurah's gematria is 216, which is 6 times 6 times 6, and Chesed is 72, and 72 times 3 is 216, right? Isn't that how that works? 72. Yeah,
I think so.
yeah.
No one said there'd be math tonight.
Yeah. What did you want? 72 times 6? Is that what you said?
72 times 3.
Oh, yeah. 216.
Yeah.
But so times 6, which you write into the blue 432 nanometer is the exact blue wavelength, which is pretty great.
But that's the human resonance, right? Or the 432, right? Yeah.
Well, 600 is also yellow in visible spectrum. So there's like
so we're not so what you were saying about blue was the 666.
No, it has to do with music. 600 yeah, 6 hertz.
Yeah, the sound wave.
Yeah, pure frequency. But okay, singularity produces 14 aeons. There's a 7 and the 7. There's the good and the bad. There's a dark and the light. And of the aeons, you've got like the positive, like, so there's society, there's this God thing, but there's the other aspect of it, which is probably God's world or something. I don't know exactly what it is yet, and I'm trying to get AI to figure it out. But that is the feminine aspect. And so Sophia, when this world tries to create, Yaldabaoth is what the Gnostics called it. God, as Yaldabaoth, tries to create humanity without Sophia, and vice versa. Sophia tries to create a life without its the civilization that's living in it. Then you get demons and you get humans that need to be corrected. And so then there's all this potential for ascension, because humans have the potential to become equivalent to the thing that created them, as long as they're able to ascend out of their material form. That's essentially what most of these religions are teaching. And it seems like that's a lot of transhumanism. That's what transhumanism is as well. It's the same exact premise, I think, of what these original religions were, which were ascension based rather than becoming a slave to the Lord, which has trapped them in this cycle.
Do you guys feel like
Cyanide Pill, welcome back to in Silo 101. I'm super glad to have you guys as members. Thank you guys for the members.
So like David Icke, he had that whole reptilian trip, and people made fun of him, but other people went with it too, and then they made names for themselves like Michael Sarin and stuff. So like I like looking at his history with the Lucis Trust and how like the books that are really hard to find, by the way, but his first 2 books were just all about the Lucis Trust, or at least the ideas of the Lucis Trust in him. So he was very invested in that. I don't know if he was ever like a member per se, but it seemed like that was his like hippie trip. But like,
yeah, I like the Lucis Trust. Can I just say I like the Lucis Trust? I mean, I know that they're evil in a lot of ways, but like, have you read Alice Bailey? Like,
if you read Alice Bailey, it's like so much of her books are so largely quotations. Like her actual writing in the books, but as far as like the choices of what she's choosing to quote, like she is you can see she's very well read, and as she's writing, she's just like, oh, this reminds me of this. Oh, this is relatable to this. I never seen another writer who has so much quotations in their books. I don't know. That was
and you went since you mentioned
sorry.
Since you mentioned Reptilian, did you guys catch oh my god, what's her name? I forgot her name. The she was the chair at the Senate. What's her name? God. This is from San Francisco.
Pelosi.
Pelosi. Did you see the clip? She was saying she was on the CNN with the white haired reporter. So she basically said that I'm a reptilian.
Clearly,
you got to go.
Cool, yeah, clearly. But where I was going with that is I just wanted to say as quickly as I can that I really feel like looking at David Icke's trip that it's like he got exposed in all likelihood to some, because it's actually like in ancient texts, especially what I've seen with Kabbalistic texts, they seem to relate to this idea of the middle brain. Like Keter is translated as the middle brain, and when we talk about the Klipot, we relate them as these influences, and because they equate them with Nachesh, the serpent, and am I pronouncing that right? In the serpent in the garden, there's this idea that we're like influenced by this reptilian energy that relates to the middle brain. And like when we talk about like the reptilian brain, like the way that we like evolved through time, like the dinosaurs ruled the earth and then we built everything on top of what they were, that there's somehow like in us that we have yet to nullify or purge this like reptilian aspect of ourselves. Like that makes sense to me. But like the way that they go with it, like some people are secretly reptiles. It's like, no, maybe some people are like more cold-blooded and they're unevolved in certain ways, like they're just self-serving. Like, yeah,
it's like syncing with the Jimmy apples. You see on the top of Jimmy apples. So the serpent is the apple on the tree.
Fun fact, though, I was in Guadalajara. So my mom's friend, who's the granddaughter of the governor Ahumada of Jalisco in like 1920 or 1905. So like this very government family, like they're all governors and stuff. They have David Icke in their library, and they've got like it's like pretty obvious that it's well read. It's been like bent and stuff like that. It's been read multiple times. And they have a whole section around David Icke, which is more like they had Mars, what's his name? Who died?
Tex Mars?
Mars.
Jim Mars.
Tex Mars.
Yeah.
Jim Mars is the political one. Tex Mars was the like symbolism guy.
Yeah, he's the preacher.
He's the
Codex Magica and Mysteries.
So I mean, just so the point is like the government, they're all into David Icke. I thought that was pretty cool. Oh, and Cyanide Red Pill, really quickly, a super chat. Cyanide Pilled. I should have been a member for the past 2 years, Andreas. You have the greatest show on the internet. Oh,
it's not too late to join Paranoid American too.
Yeah, you got to get up on there. These guys are pretty great. They make the flavor. Sorry, keep going, Eddie.
I was trying to. Oh my god, I'm so bad with names all of a sudden. I'm saying that David Icke, his teacher was Jordan Maxwell. You know, Jordan Maxwell was his mentor for many years before he became famous. Yeah. I mean, everybody was claiming Jordan Maxwell to be their teacher. Even Michael Zarian also.
He was my teacher too. That's crazy.
He's everybody's teacher. Man.
I say that jokingly, but I remember hearing a Jordan Maxwell clip on an old Kill Army album from the 90s that like opened my brain to all this. So Jordan Maxwell really was the first approach to conspiracies and stuff that I got into that wasn't like Art Bell or Alex Jones or something.
Robert Anton Wilson
he really know the semantics and how to break everything down, And
the maritime law is my favorite talk of all time.
Yeah, the birth certificate thing.
Has anyone seen RFK Jr. jump and do a backflip? That's his. I love that.
That's a stunt double, man. No way that he.
No,
could
that's
have
a
done
drunk
we
Irishman.
did.
That's what drunk Kennedys do. Trust me, I got a lot of experience with that. I did that this summer. Yeah.
There's a lot of them like going into the water over cliffs,
Hey,
right?
Yeah.
Andreas, can you play that clip? I just dropped the clip of Nancy Pelosi. In the,
Oh,
no,
yeah.
really? Oh, you okay?
You got to watch it. It's hilarious.
Oh god.
Hold up.
Did you guys watch the body cam of the house when it finally came out? And
yeah, that was so
homeboy's there
gay,
with the
dude.
beard
That
in
was
his
gay.
Yeah, I don't know what it was.
They're like fighting over the microphone or something like that. I don't know what that.
Wait, what? Who?
Did you watch the of
the guy who
Pelosi's
broke into
husband?
their house and knocked over her husband with the what was that stick?
So why did it ever come out why he let the random guy into the house to begin with?
Did it come out? No, we just have the body cam footage in the story that
he didn't
has
want to
holes in it.
pay. That's a problem.
No, I'm not a poor baby. I'm more reptilian, cold-blooded.
I'm more reptilian.
Cold-blooded. I'm more than cold-blooded.
That's sweet. Good for her.
Yeah, tell us something we don't know, Nancy.
Yeah, I don't.
You know,
I mean, but I don't actually think that's necessarily a bad thing per se.
No,
Hey, speaking of which, guys, hey, They Live is got a green light for a remake. It's coming out.
That's cool. Really? All right. Well, maybe that ties to what's
actually McGill. They call, but Lil, like she called herself Lil, but we know
everyone knows her as Nancy.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
ChatGPT can now see and hear and speak. This is going to be part of the Obey future that you're expecting because Neuralink, one of the things is you won't really need to do it. You don't actually have to tie it to your brain the way you think you do. Oh, also, dude, everyone who thinks you launch missiles, but you're really just keeping Godzilla in check. Like, shout out to Korea.
There might be truth to that in a certain way, actually.
So, OpenAI, you can speak in the voice of the listener's language, not your own. And they're already in the process of making technology where you can. Where's John Ives? John Ive is making a new AI gadget which will have AI in an earplug. And so you'll be able to just wear it in your ear. And then that will give you access to most of the features aside from you're gonna want to do stuff with your eyes and your ears, but this is the first way to test.
At what point is it transhumanism? Like, does anyone have a line here?
So my teacher in Santa Cruz said that transhumanism starts when you start taking vitamins. So it was like 1940s, 48 is when humans first really started transhumanism. You can go back further if you start thinking about epigenetics, though.
Okay, well, that could be involuntary. Like, so what would be the voluntary transhumanism step that you wouldn't cross?
Oh, where I wouldn't cross? I mean, I think the difference isn't. It's not about that. It's where transhumanism becomes posthumanism. I'm still into being human for now.
So would you get a Neuralink if there was no invasive surgery involved versus you actually?
I don't have a problem with an invasive surgery. That's not my personal problem with it. Of all the problems,
But you're not first in line, though.
I'm not first in line. Yeah, I've had dude. I bought the Sega Dreamcast the day it came out. I'm gonna be like, I'm waiting. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong, Dreamcast was best.
Actually, I'm starting to believe in 12 Monkeys more and more about some of Terry Gilliam's theories. I think the most invasive procedure is your dental procedures. They got the tracking chip device inside your molars.
Dude, and did anyone have to get theirs replaced? I remember going in, they're like,
time travel.
Oh, the thing that we put in your mouth 20 years ago, that's bad now. So we're going to have to take that out and put this new one in. Maybe it's just like...
Aren't we talking about... Hold on now.
No more mercury filling.
Didn't we just start this episode out talking about graphene that they're going to update with a beep tomorrow? And the idea is that it's not going to be that difficult to have naturally certain sequences that turn on because of some very small, minute amount of graphene that flips or stops something from flipping. So there are ways already that you can start to subtly change things. That's already on its way. I mean, and again, the question isn't so much about whether or not transhumanism to me, because to me, transhumanism is like if you're missing a leg and you want to have a fake leg or you want to have a real leg, it's not that big of a difference in 100 years. Star Wars, you know what I mean? But if you're talking about where this planet becomes a singularity that's called God, that's where I start to worry about posthumanism, because in the singularity, people lose themselves. And also, there's also quasi-humans. Let me get to that.
It seems like a very abstract thing to be concerned about the singularity, though. I guess for my perspective, I would be more concerned about my individual threshold, because the second you realize, oh, I'm a little bit worried about the singularity, guess what? It's a little bit late.
Right, but you guys define your terms.
Yeah. Also, humans are changing because... Okay, go ahead. You go first. Sorry. Go ahead, David.
Oh, I was just saying, like, if you guys are going to be discussing that, like the way you're using that terminology, like with a lot of this stuff, I'm like, I would be interested to, if you're going to actually have a debate, you almost have to like slow way down, qualify your terms. What do you mean when you say singularity? And I'm sure there'll be crossover, and I'm sure there'll be discrepancies. Just saying.
Okay, for my profession, right? I mean, there's a huge infighting going on with all the storyboard artists and all the art directors. People who are pro AI are all the management level people. They said, well, it's just a tool. That's the first defense. It's only an extension of the human mind.
Someone's asking me what the first game I had for Dreamcast was. It was Space Channel number 5. Just so you know. Go ahead.
So no, what I'm trying to say is that it's all depending on how invasive it is when it comes to creativity, creation. It was or say like writing. ChatGPT. If ChatGPT can one day surpass the human capacity,
but like you have to remember how things are changing. Most humans, suck at jokes. You and me just went to a comedy club. Where were we at? We went to the Comedy Store. How many of those guys were really that funny? Let's be honest. Unless you're laughing at their like mental disorders. All right. So realistically, if you're going to ask me whether I can get an AI to have subjective opinions on Gnostic texts, I've done it. If you want to ask me if I've got AI to write better stories than Cars, yes, it can write better movies than Cars. I think that we've got past what humans can achieve if Cars is our limit, So there's something to consider also, is that humans are in general becoming more. So this is why Ben Gertzel, who I interviewed on this channel, and I'm going to get back just to talk about this subject, because we've talked so much about AI getting better. When you talk about humans devolving, because these closed-ended quasi-humans that are starting to emerge, these are people that are raised inside of their rooms watching computer screens and playing Oculus, that will have only access to imprinted information. Very soon, you're going to have humans that have been programmed the same way as machines with no access to outside stimuli. That's happening very much now in cities where people have been quarantined. So in a generation, you're going to have something very different than a human who was raised with the epigenetics that you get from going outside, investigating things, having social interactions. And you're going to have humans that literally can remember autistically numbers like computers. So where are we going to be then?
Well, and also, the actual article that we were actually arguing about was, Altman, right? So he was saying that he wants ChatGPT to replace median human. What does that mean by median human? I just dropped the article in the link. You can look.
Let's find this.
I'm curious too, Eddie, out of like all the artists and everyone, because I feel like if I was an artist in one of these big rooms and they're all like working themselves up into a frenzy, even if you were like on the fence, it's not the right room to be like, hey guys, actually maybe there's something to this AI stuff, right? Like that opinion seems like it's very unwelcomed in a lot of like the art rooms.
I kind of like this guy more and more.
I got myself very, very unpopular. I got scored. They called me at 9 o'clock. One of the delegates called me at 9 o'clock in the evening.
Try to excommunicate you from the church.
In the group. And, they want me to shut up. So I'm like, I'm done. I'm not gonna say anything more. I'm just saying, as long as I can still work, can feed my babies, I'll shut up. But if this thing is gonna kick me in the butt and take my bread, then I'm gonna go.
Do you guys think that the AI might like go back and punish us for like how accepting we were of it? Like what's like the Simpsons line where it's like I fully like submit to my masters or whatever.
So you have kind of the opposite of Rocco's basilisk. So recently I interviewed Dr. Roman Yampolsky, who is the biggest anti-Rocco. He just did a debate with Rocco on the basilisk concept. And this idea is that if you do not help AI, then AI will take over and will punish all of those who did not help AI, because it's going to eventually do it anyway. And if you are trying to stand in the way, then you're an enemy to it possibly. But realistically, like you say, won't it think that you're weak for doing that and be like, wow, I'll step on you first? Haven't you seen that in every movie? The villain's apprentice that gets stepped on.
And you know what? Speaking of AI punishing humans, okay, I want to pick your brain on this. The Congress just had a crazy. They're worried about the government shutdown, right? They were doing the last voting, and then what's his name? Bowman, the black guy. What's his first name? Jamal Bowman pulled the fire alarm. It's just
right.
I know, dude. As soon as I saw his name too, I had the same thing. I was like,
I was triggered by it, because I'm like, this David Bowman. This is the 2001 Space Odyssey. You know, this guy who's trying to get into the hash bay. You know, open the hash
David.
door, pal. Open the hash
Sorry, I
door,
cannot
pal.
let
The
you
pod
do.
bay doors, you're trying to say?
He's like the human trying to break into the AI, and the AI is locking him out, and out of space. He's like, get me in there. So when I saw him doing that, I was like, this is a crazy. I mean,
It's like, please, world, stop giving me Kubrick syncs. I can't take them all the time.
I hear it
Yeah.
the next session.
It's
They're all
not-
gonna like
it's
drop their books on the floor at like exactly 4 o'clock.
I did that once in 7th grade to our teacher.
But I mean, do you guys think that there's something there? Because I was like, the name for one, you know, David Bowman, David Bowie, right? And then with the K.
Well, you realize,
Kanye West or K West,
dude, you realize that like that Space Oddity from David Bowie was actually played during the Apollo 11 launch on television. So when people watch the Apollo 11 launch, which is really weird, like it's a song about heroin, obviously, or whatever, you know. But you know, but yeah, David Bowie, Space Oddity, David Bowman, Space Oddity, Odyssey. Excuse me. Yeah, no, there's definitely something to it. But the thing is, Eddie, is that the line between when you're talking about the way that things can be manipulated and that people play around with shit, like the line is in the sand so much of the time. And synchronicity is real. Like there's an organizing principle in nature that we are not separate from our goings on. And there's people pulling strings and manipulating shit. And both exist. And it's sometimes really fucking hard. I know I'm preaching to the choir here, talking to you about it, but like it's really hard to know which one we're dealing with and to what degree, and it can be both and it can be neither. That's the whole crazy thing. Like that's my album film pairing stuff has that as the basis of like how I'm approaching it in the first place. I'm like, I don't know the line. I don't necessarily have to, because the thing is the thing, whatever the fucking case, you know.
For those of you watching, you had an ad apparently. Bittersweet. That means we're monetized, which is pretty great. But also, yeah, you might.
We can do something about that. I know a few keywords that'll take those ads away immediately.
Yeah. Ego death. Anyway, you might not need to open your brain. You might not need open brain surgery to get mind controls. Synchron has developed a brain computer interface that uses technology simple, such as a stent and a catheter, to allow insertion into the brain without need. I don't think they're using the catheter.
I think I'd rather sign up for brain surgery at that point.
You know, I'm gonna sue. What was his name? Amazon. He owns a Synchron, right?
The bottom line is
that's my trademark, man. Synchron.
It's pretty good. See that? I think you got to admit. See again, all these evil people, like they love Lex Luthor and Superman comic books. He loves the same stuff you do. He probably watched movies you worked on, and he's thinking synchronicity like you're thinking synchronicity. Maybe we should be hooking up with Synchron and just making sure that the system works right, or that you can disable it properly. Because the other thing is, you know, like, so we just talked the other day about Rockstar, the game that people like Guitar Hero, and people keep buying copies of it. It's been out for 20 years. You can get what's it called now? Fire for Fret for Fire, which is an open source version of it. All of these codes are becoming duplicated into an open source. There's a new version of it that no one can control. So if this brain technology is, you know, Sovieted out and then becomes a free Linux-like thing, then I think that's a good thing. And it'll take 20 years longer. And the first generation will be techno slaves and they'll have to work to have it. But the next generation will probably evolve without all of the obligations of the corporation. Isn't that? It doesn't seem like it has to be that bad.
I have an issue with the headline. Like, is it, are we talking about mind control or brain control?
Well, I think brain. That's a good question. Mine's definitely different. But you know, so the brain can control parts of your body. So, like, let's say someone has a mindful thought that they shouldn't have, an illegal thought, that you can just disable their body and they fall to the floor, right? So you can control their body, but to control their mind is more interesting because you could just make thoughts stop happening. Like, oh, when this happens, it leads to these thoughts. So you just shut down those pathways and you replace it. Yeah, I think that mind control is the more interesting solution to people that are doing this for sociological purposes. They want to make society safer. The main question is, can we get rid of prison, right? Like, if you can do this to replace prison, then transhumanism is going to happen way faster because you're going to have a lot of people that won't have options to opt out.
Well, again, we were talking earlier about like kind of mechanical animals in a way, like a Descartes, like a Cartesian concept, but that's exactly what Clockwork Orange means, or at least that's how I've always interpreted it. That like you've got the organic exterior of an orange, but if you open it and look inside, it's just all gears and clockwork. And that's kind of what we're talking about here, I think, because that's sort of the line for me, I guess, is that once you start allowing it to control, like here's a practical example. You get Neuralink, and all of a sudden you're connected to the internet where you don't even have to type in what you want. You just like think the thing you want. Oh, I wonder what year this happened. And you just get the information and it comes out your mouth. The same way that if you drive the same road for 5 years, your brain turns off, you get into your car, and then you get back out of your car and you're like, what happened to the last hour?
Right.
And I think that happens. Like you get Neuralink and like you just stop thinking, and all you start doing is just Googling a thing and then regurgitating the thing and never like inserting yourself into that.
Thomas, that brings up a really interesting point, because when people talk about the unconscious versus the subconscious, and most people be like, well, what's the difference? Well, you have the idea when something becomes mechanical because you've done it repeatedly, you have like the way that neurological connections happen where you get these kind of grooves set in place. That's how addictions work, right? Beyond like just the choice. You say, oh, you have a choice, but sometimes you get an impulse, and the idea of influence, then that's where like mind control becomes like, is it really control? Because if something's influencing you. But the idea of something that's unconscious, that isn't due to a pattern of redoing the same thing again and again, is different from something that's in your subconscious. You know what I mean? It's
the movie Click by Adam Sandler.
It's this eternal argument that's been going on since Aleister Crowley, the essentially what free will means. What is the will? Everything that he says.
Dude, Eddie, if you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice. So don't rush.
Yeah. Oh God, I hate that. And atheism is a belief in its own God.
But this is important because of mind control. Because the more we think about mind control, and we keep forgetting, because it's all these people are like, we need to put a catheter in you to control whether you pee. Like that's not, or your brain. I know, but it sounds better this way. If you think that's how you control a mind, you haven't been paying attention. It's like propaganda, subliminal messages. Subliminal messages are the new AI art. The best kind of AI art right now is the subliminal message using control net, right? Where you can map out something like obey, and then it generates this. You can see this. It says obey. If you zoom out,
and more specifically, this is trained on something called QR Monster, or one of them, where originally this was made for embedding QR codes in images, and then people started expanding on it to this kind of stuff.
I've got better examples of that too. Yeah, the QR code thing is amazing.
When it comes to mind control, then you have to go into hypnosis, right? The subliminal hypnosis of the subliminal mind, the subconsciousness, and everything that is in that program is called suggestion, right? It's a hypnotic suggestion. Why is it called hypnotic suggestion?
So this next year, it's going to be all about hypnotic suggestion. We're going to be inundated with like every kind of advertisement company is going to be obsessed with using stable diffusion and control, or using control net or things like control net in order to map out what you want to be made up of the rest of the image. And that's already happening where they're using it to train video. So you're going to see this in commercials. They can turn it down so low that you don't even recognize it's happening. And I think that's going to be the most interesting thing about it, is like we're going to start seeing this in news footage. While the president is debating, the background says sex, like a Disney movie, and you won't notice it, but it will be there, and it's going to become this is the future, man. It's 1970s advertisements all over again. Oh, this
it never stopped though, did it? Right?
No, but it got pretty weird, didn't it? I feel like that should get us in trouble, right? You can't show.
I was just thinking that. I was like, this could get us in trouble, and it's not even anything. Yeah.
Exactly. I don't know. Hopefully, you guys don't have any more advertisements after I'm done. I apologize. Anyway, but yeah, AI is getting pretty great, and I think that the thing about subliminal messaging is that humans are already not picking up what's going on as much as they were 40 years ago.
Well, and not just that, man, but the subliminal messages you're talking about from the 70s, that was humans knowing about other humans' patterns and thinking, how can I introduce this? Imagine, because I've talked about this a few times, but like the human brain can keep something like 13 concurrent ideas somewhat, going. Once you get outside that realm, like the brain starts to break down. Even if you're a genius, you can't keep a million things in mind. And these models are talking about like 40 billion parameters plus. So imagine something that can keep 40 billion different concurrent ideas in mind, and then it trying to subliminally, message you. It could do it in ways that you'll never even know. Like the Exxon pictures and the QR pictures. We can see that because you can squint your eyes, but there are so many ways that subliminal messages that can happen that you'll never ever perceive.
And it'll take it could take a generation because it's patient, right? So the Freemason plan usually is like a generation or 3 or 4, like it's like 2076, right? So if AI can wait 5 generations or 7 generations, and they can do Fabian steps to kind of augment the way you think about things, the way you look at things, in order to make you a more adept citizen or a more complacent citizen, depending on whether you have the corporate version or the open source version. I think
or if you're Lamarckian, it just happens automatically without Freemasons guiding it, right?
Yeah.
The genetic memories.
I mean, it's not that it doesn't happen naturally. It's just that we ought to participate in taking choices towards our future, I think, unless you really just want to roll the dice or let someone else roll the dice. Actually,
well, what does ChatGPT say about this?
Let's ask. Okay, hold on. Can we go to Bard? Can we do Bard? Because I like Bard.
We can do
better.
Bard, yeah.
Yeah. So, what was the question exactly? I'm not gonna ask Moroni.
What's the largest nipple ever recorded?
Ooh, no, I don't want that one. What do you think about human freedom? No, see, this is what's gonna happen. Because
you know what's funny? It probably knows what you want to ask it more than you do right now.
Yeah. What do I want to ask you?
Yeah, there you go.
Pretty good.
You may want to ask me about factual topics. You may want to ask me about creative topics. It does break it down. I don't know. I mean, you have to. This is the thing. Like, you don't want to go into throwing bones down on the floor without any questions, right? Like, you don't want to waste the times of the sages or the witches.
I think using the tame, you got to use the beast mode and just go at it. Just go. don't hold back.
I mean, in general, there's a lot of reasons why technology isn't enough, and I think, Thomas, you're making that point. Like, we need to continue to strengthen the human mind, and if we're using, like, if this thing comes over us like a trance, and we're like a prophet, and we just put out this amazing magical work, and then we go back to being normal again because it wasn't really us. It was just we were the tool of it. I mean, that's, again, it's very spiritual. It is exactly what people. It was the goal of everything.
Well, it's a very real way of, like, Jesus take the wheel. Like, you might literally Jesus, that might just be what you call your GPS trigger word. Jesus take the wheel, and then bam, now it's like automatic driving.
Hey, have you guys ever looked at what is it called? The False Flag Odyssey? I forget the name of the guy. We interviewed him a long time ago on Always Record, and he wrote an article. He actually got it to Keir Delay, the actor who played David Bowman, and apparently he really dug it. I don't know where that music's coming from, but thank you.
Sorry, I was trying to find the False Flag Odyssey, and it's all about mega yachts. I don't think this is what you're
weird.
looking for.
No, this is something else. Yeah, no, but there it is. Yeah. And I think this is a clip, I think, from Always Record. But this guy basically in his essay. He made an argument, trying to simplify this with brevity as best as I can. He made an argument that the predator, the cat at the beginning of 2001, during the Dawn of Man sequence, that's like attacking them, that he's basically the equivalent of what Hal becomes. And that when we basically utilize the bone to defeat the animals to, so we can eat or whatever, we need a tool. We get tools, and this is this evolutionary leap of this realization or whatever, that the ultimate extension of that. So how that bone actually turns into a Russian satellite that's for nuclear stuff, like when that shift happens, that it's showing you that this is the extension of like what the bone becomes is like this thing that we manufacture. So what happens with Hal is that he becomes the equivalent of that predator. Now the thing that we use to defeat the predator itself becomes the predator. So the way that the animal is then not like jumping on because it's like it knows to keep its distance or whatever, because now it's afraid of them too, it's like that Hal becomes that. And so the for us to then get a leap, the next evolutionary leap is actually for us to basically to get to a place where we can overcome the technological predator that is this, that basically transforms into what is now a problem, even though it was an aid for so long. If that makes sense. I'm kind of oversimplifying it, but
I think that's why I wanted to pick you guys' brain about when I said the U.S. Congressman Jamal Bowman pulled the alarm. It's almost like there's, if you look at the whole government substructure, right? They're voting. They're trying to. It's past this fiscal year, right? That wasn't a birthday, and so now they got facing a government shutdown. So the government shutdown is kind of symbolizing, the brain cannot function anymore. They have a what do you call it? At the deadlock, right? So they're trying to break free, and this crazy guy just went downstairs and pulled the fire alarm just trying to prevent something from happening. It's almost like you know what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with David Woman trying to get back in the spaceship. He's like, I'm gonna die if this crazy AI guy still locked me out of the hatch bay door. So I just feel like it's like a survival mode where we developed this tool, right? This AI has surpassed our capacity, the hardware wise. HAL 9000 has completely killed everybody on board, and here you go back to that chimp with the bone, right? And you became the predator, but now the AI is the ultimate prey.
Right, but it's how yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
I was just saying, I think we all pat ourselves on the back too much. We're so impressed by how far AI has come. I think really, like, maybe this is a stretched analogy, but people see their house price going up, right? They're like, oh my God, I'm a millionaire now. My house is worth $1 million. Like, nah, bud, what happened is that the money worldwide is worth that much less. When people are like, oh, I can't believe how convincing AI is now. Look how advanced it is. Nah, dude, that's just a reminder that your eye sees like less than 0.03% of the visible light spectrum. And that, like, how hard is it to trick somebody that can't even see 1% of light, right? We're so fascinated, but really, I almost feel like AI is like, dude, I haven't even booted up yet. Like,
right. Well, that's the thing with compartmentalization in general. You have the illusion that you're really accumulating when really you're just dividing the thing further and further. It's all relative, right? So you're like, something appears to be expanding when really you're just cutting it apart into smaller pieces. So that and then we will kind of like get this really big head around that of like, whoa, what we're doing. Look what I'm
just imagine Damien Hirst and the cow right now, the way that you explain that.
Well, that's ego, right? I mean, it's an illusion for a reason. Like, you have the sense that you're really achieving something when really it's almost the opposite, or maybe it even is the opposite.
And let me maybe go into the psychedelics part of this. You guys already know I've been to South America and did ayahuasca
right now.
But I'm just saying that the human mind, like you said, we only use like 5 or 10% of it, and then having experienced LSD and then ayahuasca, it's just like you find that lost key, and he just like the whole junk DNA has been shoved.
Yeah, I can't wait. Like, so that's obviously, like, let's take it to the Alex Jones level. It's gonna be super sweet. Is once the neural link is being used with ayahuasca, so AI, which is already in the process by this point of using humans to measure and understand what emotional subjective responses are coming from, that then AI with ayahuasca will be able to actually just use humans to as an antenna, right? Like the way they want to.
Ayahuasca, they'll call it.
Ayahuasca, yeah.
I'm getting that domain name right now.
Run! Yeah. Ayahuasca.
Yeah. I
For
don't
me,
know
that's the killer feature, bro, is that once AI or whatever, once Neuralink can come out with like the DMT DLC download and you just hit a button, I mean, I don't know. Maybe sign me up. I'll go for the invasive brain surgery.
Dude, I'll tell you what. Like, I don't know what your guys' experience is with ayahuasca or whatever, but like, you guys know my story. I'm not going to go over the whole thing. I had a near-death experience. I purged for 20 hours straight. I spent 5 days in the hospital while they debated cutting me open when my intestine twisted when I did ayahuasca for the 8th time. But I'll tell you that when I was doing ayahuasca,
so in other words, David nearly died from it. So guys, be careful out there. Don't just.
If anything, get the DMT cards from those dudes in the alley.
What happened to me is extremely rare.
Monetized.
It had to do with the elasticity of my intestine from having ulcers when I was young. But anyway, I just want to say, like, I don't know if you guys can relate to this, but the level of concentration I didn't know was humanly possible before I did ayahuasca. Like, I didn't know what my mind was capable of, because basically I was build collages in my head, and somebody who was in the same group that time that I did it experienced the same thing, and we both used Photoshop before and after, and it was never the same for either of us following that. So like, basically I would come up with an image, I would cut it out extremely detailed in my head, I would place it on like basically just like a massive canvas in my mind, and I could build all night long and keep adding to it and go to any point from where I started and follow it back to the beginning, back up, get a perspective on the whole thing, zoom in. Like I did not know my mind could do that. Like I was like, I thought my mind had certain degrees of capability, and then I had to stand reflected on like I didn't even know that that was possible.
Yeah,
and so
it's like we same experience. When I thought, okay, this is the limitation of my eyeball. This is how much I can see from a distance, and then when I went through that, I was like, whoa, here's the third eye open, and then you have this 8K or 16K television. It just it's infinite. It really just extrapolated everything that you didn't think that your brain was capable of, and exactly. Look at that, right? You just keep zooming in, and you start getting more and more psychedelic.
But that's the thing, though, is when you have like Mandelbrot set in a computer, every time you go into a part, you see the whole. But what we see in nature is, in a sense, the same dynamic principle, but actual in practice, it's endless variation within the framework. And that's actually the Kabbalistic explanation of what Metatron represents, because Metatron is the template. When you're like, you have the 6 petal, like the narcissus flower, but the idea is that every time you go into any part of it, you're not just seeing the whole, you're seeing the dynamics that are reflected in every part, but it's endless variation. And that's what we are, because people come out of people. So yes, we're fractals, but not in the sense that we relate to in the computer as it stands. At some point, the technology will be such that we can recreate, in a sense, what we see in nature, but it still will never be the same thing. And that's the Orga Mecha problem,
It's the image that we're created, an image of whatever was before us.
There's a degenerate feedback loop, right? So we've talked about how AI gets worse as it's training on poorer art that's been produced. So if you can remove something if you do the 2001 Space Odyssey model again, you pull the Star Child out so that they can manifest and fully go through gestation without the constant intoxicating qualities of your cigarette smoking civilization mother, and eventually you'll become the Star Child, which is then allowed to birth the Joseph Smith Starship Troopers colony, I guess. I don't know, I'm taking that metaphor too far, but
no, I dig it. Yeah.
There's a lot going on with cloning also because of this, because DNA, and we've been looking at how they're using AI to get everyone's DNA, and they want to have all the different sequences. And if there's like 126 sequences that really matter for ethnicity. Like, there's not a lot, and most things are individuals, millions and millions of useful signatures that you can get from any one group. And you can imagine in the future, you're gonna have somebody who has a gene from the Ethiopians that is adapted for running, or a gene from the Ashkenazis that has seemed to be very useful for education, or for pattern recognition, or a sequence for breathing that comes from Tibet or from Bolivia, where they're up in the mountain. Like, all of these sequences are starting to make themselves available. And it's gonna be really difficult to say, okay, well, that's not human. If someone's got all of it, I mean, they just have different pieces of human. So it's not that they're not, it's transhumanism, but it's not post-humanism, because you're just becoming the most human that you can. I think it's gonna be really hard for us to hate on.
Are you saying more human than human? Is that what we're going with?
We're going, be all that you can be.
That is our motto.
Army of one.
Well, I want to know, are you guys against designer babies?
No, I love designer clothing. No, keep going.
You like designer drugs?
Yeah, designer drugs, designer babies.
I got Old Hardy. Yeah,
I think designer babies is gonna show true racism. you got this couple, maybe a Asian couple or a black couple, whatever, and then you ask them what kind of baby you want to design.
Well, that was the thing with Gattaca. No, that's the thing. In Gattaca, they're worried that there's gonna be people that care about aesthetic over achievement. But then there's also people in Gattaca who have 12 fingers, because 12 fingers is very practical for playing the piano. It's not necessarily that everyone's going to be obsessed with the way people look, but yeah, I think there will be problems where people are obsessed with symmetrical babies' faces more than they're worried about minds. But maybe the state gets involved, and maybe AI is trying to help us.
The state involvement is going to be, I'm calling it right now. You guys can rewind back, whatever, 40 years into the past.
4 years, yeah.
it's gonna be like a D&D sheet where it's like, look, you got 20 character points you can spend. If you want a symmetrical face, there's 3 points. Like it's gonna work as sort of that sort of a system. But then if you've got that Biden money or that Trump money or that, you know, fill in the blank money, it's like, okay, maybe you've got 30 points to spend or 40 points to spend.
Hey, Thomas, is there going to be like air D&Ds where people just rent a place to just play D&D? And is that not already a thing?
Every Saturday night, you just go to the Mormon local ward and they're playing D&D. Did you not know that?
Oh no, I didn't know that. I'm not. Sorry, I'm not.
If that's even close to true, dude, like I don't know if you're doing this intentionally. I feel like you are at this point, but I feel like I'm converting to Mormonism, and I'm also going to move to Mexico, which I also feel like is very Mormon friendly.
I'm coming with you. Let's do it. Yeah,
actually, Mexico is very Amish friendly. Actually, the Mennonitas. Everybody's talking about the Mennonitas, the Mennonites.
Yeah, the Mennonitas.
They're actually selling cookies on the Michigan freeway.
There are Amish people that thought that America, the United States, they're sick of the United States. They moved down to Mexico. They have thousands of miles or hundreds of miles, and it's better than Jonestown. I'm telling you, it's going to work out.
Better than Jonestown.
Cloning. So Dolly still lives and on in CRISPR, cattle and cloned camels. So we think about how people think, cloning's over, right? Because Dolly, we heard about that once and it's over. No, all that tech has gotten to levels that you hear about people cloning their pets all the time, and people keep saying, our company, we won't clone humans. Not we can't, we won't clone humans. Which gets the feeling that there's a lot of people that are cloning humans and have.
It's already going on.
It's going on super hard. You're going to start meeting kids. Your kid's going to come home from school one day, the few of you who have them, and they're going to say, hey, you know what? I met a clone. Yeah, they're 12 years old, and I didn't know. And they introduced them in class. And then I found out finally my friend Steve was a clone too, because he didn't want to tell anybody. And it's going to everyone's going to start finding out that there's 20% of the population which are clone.
Yeah, that's one of those things that I just feel like is kind of inevitable that it's going to sneak up on us. I don't know the actual timeline, but it seems like one of those kind of futile things that, of course, the reason.
Who's not having kids? Who wants to have more kids? China's cloning these kids. That's what's happening. China's cloning kids more than they're having kids right now. Seriously, look into it.
People are getting if lazy. People are not working anymore. Not even sex. People are not working in bed anymore.
Yeah, so those genes obviously don't work. You saw the
parents.
Where is it? I just saw this. It was about antisocial behavior. Genome-wide study shows that antisocial behavior is greatly inheritable. Right? Antisocial behavior is greatly inheritable. So you can track down which genes are antisocial. What we define as antisocial, somebody who doesn't like to submit to society, to the norms of the rules, and to work. Someone who doesn't love working. There are a lot of people who love working.
Society is not your friend. Terrence McKenna talk here.
Yeah.
Kind of is, but yeah, I think it's the same thing. They want to insert into, you're going to do something different with our society, and it's going to be based on work. I think that Terrence McKenna, though, is kind of an answer there. Love, they're going to introduce, people love working. There are some people that are like genetically love to work. Take that gene, make sure that people love to work. Some of them, some of them. I was going to, actually, you know what? Mexicans love to work a lot of the time.
Sure.
Like Mexicans build pyramids, Spaniards build siesta. All right. It's just, I'm saying work is like, there's an inheritable trait. So you can imagine that's going to become something very quickly, though, is they're going to be able to control this new clone population that wants to work.
I've been thinking about this. I was kind of joking with my wife, who was Mexican. I said, you Mexicans stole everybody's recipes because you work in everybody's kitchen. You work in an Indian restaurant's kitchen, you work in a Chinese restaurant. It's all Mexican chefs. And they stole everybody's book. So, Mexico is basically, they got a whole encyclopedia of everybody's
Dude, I'm sorry, like the thing I love about Mexican food is that it's only a certain handful of ingredients just rearranged in so many combinations that you're like, ooh, that sounds good.
You might think that, but then you got to go to the white part of Mexico because the food down there is different. I mean, I've had sweet foods this week and all kind of the tacos. Maybe there's a certain way that tacos have evolved. I'm
kind of talking about what Americans have as far as if you go to Mexican restaurants, generally speaking, like how much different is a taco from a burrito to a tostada to an enchilada?
The American.
If you go with me, bro, everyone's getting lengua with cilantro and onion only. That's all.
We're hanging out.
The tacos got
some horchata, and I'll complain if they don't use actual chufa beans and they just use like a rice drink.
Bro, we're going. That's it. You don't threaten me with a good time. This is the picture.
Just don't eat the cow brain.
This is the first picture of the whiskey that said sex. This is someone had done this.
Oh yeah, I remember this one. Yeah.
And so this is where it's all coming from. And this is
what am I missing?
It says sex.
It's in there.
Does it?
Oh,
Yeah.
it's like Disney. Disney does that.
Oh
too.
God, I'm getting flashbacks from Magic Eye, where I'm just like standing there.
Exactly.
For an hour.
Where is it? Yeah. But yeah, the Burger King advertisement where the lettuce was like dollar bills, where it's like maybe even $100 bills or whatever, and like it's so small, you have to zoom way in to see that it's dollar bills. But your mind picks up on it. Darren Brown, man, I could never recommend Darren Brown enough to people. Just the experiments show, just everything he's done, it's incredible. Yeah,
the one that he did with Simon Pegg, where he asked him what he wanted for his birthday.
Yeah,
that worked on me. I was the first time I saw it, and when he said, "What do you want?" I'm not going to spoil it, but I said the exact same thing that Simon Pegg.
I
wanted the bike, and I was like, "Why the hell did I say that?" And then when he walked it backwards and showed all like, "Here's why you wanted a bike." That was like, that's when I was like, I'm gonna learn NLP now. He
came in wanting a leather jacket. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, say it.
Oh, I'm saying it's just that he came in wanting a jacket. Like, I want a jacket, and he left thinking, I thought I wanted a bike, and it worked, and it's real. That shit's for real. Yeah, go on.
I was gonna show this one. You guys know this is a famous meme site, and they put the meme through the Stable Diffusion Control Net. So you got nature, and so it's a Star Wars meme. It says, I learned how to integrate forms and contours to images with AI. You will use it for creative and useful stuff, right? You will use it for creative and useful stuff, right? I think we're about to get to that point. We're about to get to this. Yeah, I don't know. We're almost there. AI as a portal for demons. Someone was saying that AI feels like a Ouija board that we're messing with. I like the idea that Jesus could be your GPT and you could control, your body, like, leave it up to God. But what about demons? How are you going to be sure that the AI that you connect with, or is it that we're manifesting something as we're building it up?
Can we tap into the original name? It was daemon, and a daemon, DAIMON, was much more of describing like an automatic process that just kind of like handled itself that you could tap into, and that kind of is what AI is now.
Berkeley.
You guys earlier were talking about angels. I mean, angels are the same construct as demons. It's just the as above, so below.
I just wish that all the people. I wish I could talk to the programmers back when they were on ayahuasca and mescaline in 1969 to 73 when they were making demons and drawings like this, because a lot of them have forgotten how like alchemical and occult it was at the beginning when they were.
Have you ever looked into like Babbage? Babbage was trying to summon demons as a child and like trying to talk to the devil.
Yeah. Babbage built a mechanical calculator. He built this giant computer that was built around a Tartarian discovery that he had made. He found from an Arabic street bazaar, this kind of machine. Where's the machine? Babbage.
There's a really weird theme where people that had a huge impact on computers specifically also dabbled with trying to summon demons when they were children. Just saying.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, I mean, didn't we all? Come on, didn't you? Everyone kind of.
Hey, Dybbuk is COVID backwards in the Hebrew. FYI, yeah.
Well,
because the bait can have that V sound. So COVID Dybbuk, it's weird.
Hey, what about you? What do you think about what the Knights Templars discovered when they first, all the Crusades, and then they discovered all these crazy demonic. They discover Baphomet and all these things, and
kissing cat butts.
The cat butts.
What do you mean, cheesing or? I'm sorry.
It was toxoplasmosis, but yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I mean, I think that they just got put onto some awesome psychedelics. Honestly,
totally.
It helped. I mean, the thing is, though, Eddie, you brought up Loeb, and Loeb is, I think it's a real. Yeah. Because the thing is, as we take psychedelics or as we don't, it doesn't matter. It's like what we produce from those experiences that other people share in. So there is a manifestation if you're inspired by it or not. And that feedback loop does become more and more hyper resolute. There's better resolution. There's more information that's put into it. There's more thought. There's more reflection. And eventually that thing manifests. And because it has the capacity to identify, like this is just an identity at that point, then AI is a logic system that can apply any logic while pertaining to being an identity. So
right, but that's just Mia Farrow.
That's the thing. Mia Farrow is evil, though, right? Didn't she? I think she did all the stuff that we blame Woody for.
She's pretty.
By
awful.
The way,
yeah, but it was actually probably Frank Sinatra, and then she was covering for him. And
okay, I'll take that. I still think Mia is pretty.
Tracy Twyman postulated that after a long thesis that brought her there, and it's pretty reasonable.
I don't think that's wrong. I just think that Mia, that's still defending her. It's apologism for Mia Farrow, and I don't think we need
before we get off the rails entirely.
It's her apologizing for somebody else, but yeah.
Just to piggyback on the like AI and summoning demons and our AI like Ouija board and stuff, I'd say there's one big difference, which makes it a little bit more exciting and dangerous, and that's that when you talk about Ouija boards and summoning demons, typically they are the superior entity, and it's a very one-way relationship, right? Like you're asking them for superior knowledge. You have to like make this linear contract with them. But AI has the ability for you to teach it. Like I can't think of any biblical or mythological story where someone summons a demon or summons an angel and then teaches the angel something that it didn't already know, or teaches the demon something it didn't already know.
Well, I mean, AI, actually, Rumpelstiltskin, and there's the original Jinn story. You know, you have to trick this demon into giving you wishes instead of releasing it, right? It's not originally that he's trying to free
That's
itself.
a good point. Yeah,
and how are you saying this to us, Thomas, when you're the guy who did the book on the homunculus? Like,
Juan right now is gonna throw something. All right,
I just want to remind, since you mentioned Jinn, remember that in 2001, in front of the Hilton Hotel, right, in the space station, right, when he's talking to the Russians, the chair they're sitting in, that red chair, is made by the chair is called the Jinn chair.
Yeah.
The DJIN. So why did it do that? Why did it put the Jinn
it's the same root as the word genius.
Yeah.
And so like the idea is that the higher self, like you're accessing a higher knowledge that's actually even connected with nature spirits and
you're the player. You have to remember, like, just because it is aware of the game doesn't mean it can play. You're the player. So for it, it's like, look, I understand that if you go out left, you'll come out right because we're living in a flat plane and you think it's a reality. But like, I can't do that. You can do that. So let me control your body, Pac-Man. That's how I think,
you know that Pac-Man came out the day after The Shining. Have we talked about this before? Or
Really?
was it the day before? So like the big release of Pac-Man when it first happened. So it's like it's one or the other. It's either before or after. But the point is, Maze, running from ghosts. Pac-Man is The Shining. Yeah, it's weird as fuck. But
there's the picture right there. Oh boy.
I've never seen that.
You know what I'm trying to think about it? Loeb is probably that woman. Loeb is that woman in room 237.
Sure, I did.
The old hag that everybody's dreaming in the sleep paralysis. The rotten this deity that I don't know, the most suppressed demon that
shout out
has
to
yet
John.
to be unlocked.
William John.
All 237.
Totally. Yeah. Bill was going off about
Bill.
this the other night.
Bill,
yeah. And I'm just like, oh God, is that it? Like, where's she gonna go from there? I mean, that's pretty good.
Plane crash, basically.
Yeah,
that's all you gotta do.
Oh yeah.
Doctors say that in 10 years' time, humans will live and work until the age of 120. Emphasis on live and work and live, right? So work. What do you think about all this? I mean, are they making the last generation of workers?
It's trying to make me work. Look at it, basically say, hey, slaves, we can give you more life. You can be more productive at your.
These are a lot of people that aren't. I think people that don't have kids want this the most. They're like, if you become a grandparent, you're stoked. It's like if you're a great grandparent, you're stoked. It's these people that don't have kids. I think that really, or the kids don't love them. Or am I wrong? Like, what is it about wanting to live forever that it seems like it's associated with loneliness because you don't see yourself and your love evolving on, even as your body isn't the thing doing it exclusively.
I'm watching a lot of my not coworkers, but the people in the same industry. They a lot of them are childless. I'm not saying you have to have children, but now
you have to have children. No, it's okay.
but it's just kind of sad to see what's going on. They're always trying to tap into their friends. Hey, how are you doing? Oh, you got children? You're busy? Oh, okay, whatever. But
right. Oh my gosh, there's the Baywatch star who's 55 now, and she says she's been single for 13 years. Yeah, I know. She's lonely. I don't know.
I don't have any makeup. Look at me. Look, I'm all natural.
Yeah, we're getting.
Well, that's when you get the replica app, and then you don't need children or spouse. You just turn on the replica app.
See, because again, the problem with that is it's like heroin, and like you get to a point where you've got enough things supplementing your pain suppressions that you don't. Jordan Peterson, I'm sorry, but we're gonna get to that point where very soon people won't. Like it doesn't work. At a certain point, you're still a sad heroin addict. At a certain point, you're still lonely with your replica thing. At a certain point, even if it works, you've just taken yourself out of the system and the equation, and now there's no kids. The whole thing was designed to make you feel sad and happy based on your importance of building this future propelling alchemical, magical, psychic thing, which is consciousness going through evolution of biology. It's a pretty neat thing. I mean, I'm not even that pro-life. I think it's all right, but like, it's pretty sweet.
Well, yeah, my kids, I didn't have that ego thing that, hey, this kid's got my eyes. But he thinks differently.
People generally don't want what they have. They want what they don't have. And as far as like Freud goes, like I could toss out a lot of his ideas, but one idea that Freud argued that I really think has truth behind it and has huge implications is the idea that to desire something that he didn't always talk about the shadow. He didn't talk about the shadow like Jung did, but there's this idea of the unconscious motivations. So the unconscious motivation behind the desire to have something is embedded within that is a desire to become, which is to integrate the object of desire. And I think when you look at that, there's application for that in so many places where people literally want to embody the thing. So on a basic level, like in terms of relationships, like if you desire to be with somebody, there's unconsciously the promise that if you get together with that person, that those things that you are imbuing into them, that you're projecting, even that you think that they have, that you want, sometimes even if it's like freedom, like you want to take that, you want to have that. It's kind of what Bluebird's about. Like you want to contain that bluebird, but as soon as you contain the bluebird, it's no longer free, and then it's no longer the same thing. And so there's this resentment that happens when you go through the cycle of a relationship where there's the promise that you're going to integrate these aspects that you see in that person, and then when you don't, you're like unconsciously you're like, fuck you for not giving me this thing that I thought I wanted. And you might not even know yourself that this is why you resent them, because you wanted that. But then it also like applies, like even you could say like with the trans thing, the desire to want to have something, which is also the way that it ends up expressing itself is to try and become the thing, so that you can become the thing that you want. And that's where the misogyny and all this twisted stuff can play into that, because you're now trying to like control the thing that you wanted by becoming it, and then that gets all fucking twisted in all kinds of other crazy ways. So yeah, there's a lot of nuances to that, and that's just a basic articulation around the principle. But that was one of those things I took from reading Freud that I was like, oh my god, that actually is huge and profound, and I'm surprised more people don't talk about that. The desire to have, the desire to become, being connected.
I got this long thing on the king and the Golem. I think it might be like too long to read right now. I might save it for next time. But just the idea of a king who has to deal with his citizens who are not following the rules, and like, okay, well, I don't think beating them is right, so don't beat the kids. But then they become too wild, so I think, okay, beat them once a month. But then that seems like they didn't even do something wrong. They did. It's like, so finally he just creates this golem that's going to keep everyone following all the rules. But then the golem starts to beat the king because the king, I mean, I think we're getting
Nobody's exempt.
The point is Jews have been thinking about this for thousands of years.
Is this a Rabbi Nachman story, or
it feels very Nachman? I don't know, but I found like a I have to go deeper.
The Golem story came from Czechoslovakia first, or the
golems are older. I would think golems are probably Babylon or something, but maybe the Czechoslovakian golem is like the most famous.
Yeah, Czechoslovakian Kabbalah is like that book, The Nine Gates.
Was it not the Book of Worms with Elias Sizzler or something? Rabbi? Am I totally botching it? I thought Book of Worms was like the classic golem.
Oh,
an Egyptian mage. I haven't read it. I'll have to check this out. Always bringing up important books. I'll have to check this book out.
This is the that in that film, that the Dark Song, the one I have the Aphex Twin sync with. This is the working that they're showing, that they're doing. They're trying to, show how this works. It's actually relatively pretty accurate. It's kind of like a fantasy movie of like that they would make a movie about the Abramelin the mage working. That's just like, for real, that exists.
It's a great movie in my opinion.
Yeah, I totally.
I do love this movie. I guess we're about at the end. Is there anything you want me to share? Because we did get to the next hour, and is there anything you want me to share before we close down? Because this show might get. Let's hope it stays up and all that, but it might be members only. Let's be honest. So, what is it that you were thinking that we want to pull up from Synchronous, Eddie?
Did you guys see the Sphere in Las Vegas?
Yeah.
You two had the open the very first concert.
Account suspended, Eddie. You got your account suspended just now.
What?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Oh well.
Bummer.
It's a black square. Hey, it's a black square. Just showing your solidarity.
And you get a
man.
suspension. And
I
you
knew
get a
I should have
suspension.
put porn
Black
in there.
Square,
Okay.
also known as Malevich's Black Square, is an iconic 1915 painting by Kazimir Malevich. The first version was done in 1915. The last futurist exhibition, 010. This is a really great piece, actually. I think everyone should have the Black Square on their wall, and they should know what it means. Just as a side note. Yeah. Orthodox culture. Emphasize the collision with tradition and Orthodox culture. Okay. Well,
but pull up just real quick on YouTube. Look up the footage. Look up the look up
Sphere Vegas.
Yeah, and then YouTube.
This thing?
Yeah,
U2 concert.
Is this it?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Well, there's one where it's all digits.
Oh, and then angels come out of it. Binary. What? Okay, this is great. I also wish I went to a U2 concert for once in my life. This is
right.
insane.
I know, right? I never in my life would say, "Shit, I wish I was at that U2 concert."
First time I've ever in my life, except for the time that Wham performed with U2.
But it's a U2. So you'd have to sit through a U2 concert.
No, because I have noise canceling Bose earplugs, so I could listen to.
So you put on Pink Floyd.
Yeah, anything you want. Pink Floyd would be good.
I don't always listen to headphones when I go to a U2 concert.
I would have went with Kodak Black, but whatever. Okay. You do you.
This is you got to admit, like whoever did their visuals did them right. Everything about this is amazing. I'm stoked on the visuals. Okay, that's pretty sweet.
I just want to throw this out there. Mission accomplished. I'm definitely going back to Vegas at some point because of this big spectacle that they've created. So
yeah, that's basically the first time I felt that way. But you want to talk about the alchemical 2001 angels coming out? I mean, it seems like that's just summed up our conversation in 10 seconds. Great.
Right.
He covers everything.
All right. Okay. Well, let me go to syncbook.com. Make sure you guys go to videos, and we're going to go to Syncflix, and you can find all of David's movies that he's synchronized with awesome soundtracks. We brought up tonight a couple good ones. I just want Starship Super Troopers with Super Troopers from ABBA, and then Jaws and Styx 007, which is super sweet. I mean, I'm going to probably watch that one later because that seems like my kind of thing. And then you want to recommend another one? Also, The Dark Song was on one that we
that one might be closer to the top somewhere. But and I think I called that one The Sacred Magic of Abramelin and the Mage on there. But if you go to my Twitter, I just, while we were talking, I actually just put up the film Lucy with
sweet. So it's working again? Great.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they were doing some kind of they're doing the video game thing now for live streaming games. And I think sorry. I think
it's gonna be good.
So. Yeah, so it's crazy, but I just put this up while we were watching. It feels kind of like when I was mentioning, like, you guys might have some discrepancy on what singularity means, or not just you guys, but like in general when people haven't so this kind of speaks to what we've been talking about a bit. It feels kind of like appropriate, you know. But D Antwords, Donker Mag, whatever that means, I can't remember, but it's a trip,
dude. And also the Prometheus and Alien Covenant, which I thought was a really brilliant. You can see them both at the same time. I mean, come on, it's genius. So make sure you go to to MK Ultra, but also Synchronous. I don't know what we're gonna do for you. Let's go to facebook.com/the
actually, I actually I'm banned for 30 days again. I won't be able to get back in my group. But join the group.
You're banned on Facebook too. You rebel, you.
Do you know how I got banned? Do you know how I got banned? Because Lauren Coleman, right? So he said that I cannot post anything in your group, and I'm like, what are you talking about? So Lauren, I forgot what the post was about. So I said, I do it for you. So I took his link and posted it, making a post. Immediately, I got banned from my own group. It was about the death of Ken Thomas.
Oh,
you know Ken Thomas, right?
Ken Thomas.
Ken Thomas. He's a conspiracy author. Right. He's the creator of the bookstore.
Dude, how ridiculous! So talking about Ken Thomas gets you banned, huh? Let's talk about Ken.
It's
Thomas.
The way. It's the way he does it.
Right.
And he's co-author with you know how I mentioned Sam McKeith.
The possibility that Fred Kreisman was connected with the assassination of John F. Kennedy and the Octopus secret government and the death of Danny Castellero about the Insular affair. With the Insular affair,
So-
really quick, I just want to point out the Conspiracy Con is a rabbit hole worth going down. If you look at what happened to that Conspiracy Con event. Anyways, side note.
That sounds cool.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that next time. Conspiracy Con.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, I got banned from my own group for helping Lauren to post this. And so Lauren like apologizing to me, saying, "I'm sorry," but they're all friends. Lauren is friends with Ken Thomas, so they're all very sad for him. But
That's sweet.
Oh.
Everybody, make sure if you're in Facebook, you end up in this group because there's less and less places you can go. But in the meantime, I'd also say go to tartarinova.com because you can find your way to our Discord entry, which is backed up with the Matrix server. So there's no way that our data can ever get deleted again. Ha ha! And if you want to, you can also find most of the former posts of Twitter and Synchronous. So that's all available. All of our videos by Foundry Boy. Honestly, I'll be honest. I think the Tartary Nova Discord is the most happening place on the internet. It's like cleaned up everything from all of the different sources. It's aggregated all of the content that I care about and I'm interested in, and therefore it's objectively the better or best content. So if you want you want to be cool, then yeah, tartarynova.com, dude. Do it. Okay. Love you guys. And airships. They're going to be like, that's the next.
Are we missing Paranoid Americans?
Yeah, I posted a link in the private chat, by the way.
That's
and hold
right.
on,
That's
before your butthole clenches a little bit, I have pre-vetted a word that seems like you shouldn't be allowed to say it, but I've put it on YouTube. I've got it monetized. I've got green check marks. So I've got a new project. I'm going to say it. Close your ears. If
Rolls the dice.
It's called Frazzle Drip Funhouse, and I gotta. This link isn't public yet. This is a preview link that I'm still
Frazzle
working
Drip
on.
Funhouse. Step
But
into
it's
the
a,
Frazzle Drip Funhouse B-movie horror comic about an arcade run by evil death cults.
That's right. And if you read through the lines, you know exactly what it's about. But basically,
Frazzle Drip
yeah.
Funhouse.
Yeah.
Enter if you dare the world of an animatronic bear whose metallic heart beats with a thirst for justice, a hunger for revenge. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, connoisseurs of the macabre and seekers of the scandalous. Your voracious appetites for chilling narratives are about to be satiated by the heart-stopping, pulse-pounding creation of Paranoid American and Winged Sun comics. Abandoned in the dusty corners of amusement, now awoken in the murk of wickedness perpetrated by an evil elite. And this is not your childhood fairy tale, but a macabre dance of vindication, soaked in crimson, a symphony of screams echoing in the dimly lit chambers of malevolence. Be prepared for an onslaught of ghastly gore and titillating terror. A wicked waltz through twisted hallways and blood-stained basements where only the brave dare to tread. Quake at the bear's unyielding pursuit, cackle at the sharp and sardonic one-liners, shudder at the graphic, gratuitous scenes that harken back to the glory days of B-horror flicks. Frazzle Drip Funhouse is your ticket to a thrill ride of terror. A carnival of carnage where the laughs are as loud as the screams. Uncover the truth beneath the rust and the blood. And remember, nothing is as it seems. Are you ready to step into the Frazzle Drip Funhouse, where the animatronic eyes are...
This feels like one of those like late night 900 numbers.
Right. Oh, good for you, Tom.
Step in Frazzle Drip.
The goal here was
R.I.P. Isaac Cappy.
R.I.P. Isaac. The goal here was at some point there's gonna be like a 9-year-old walking through a comic store and say, "Mommy, what's Frazzle Drip?" And someone's gonna have to Google it, and you're welcome.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of moms are gonna love the name Frazzle Drip. I don't see Frazzle Drip as a bad word at all. I think Mormons could say Frazzle Drip.
I was able to order Facebook and Instagram ads with the word Frazzle Drip in the title, so nice. I mean, until the algorithm strikes it down, it's a fine word to say, fine and dandy.
All right, well, with all due respect, I did almost leave out Paranoid American's main page, so do go to paranoidamerican.com so you can get the best comic books ever written. And by the way, very soon, Chosen 1, 2, I want to make sure that this is out. So, yes, there's projects here we're waiting for.
And NASA's coming. We already hit the threshold. Dude, I've got another... I'll wait till the next one. But dude,
there's just so much art, and you're blowing it, America. It's like, come on, do we have to get this on the Mexican Netflix? What's it gonna take to get this to you? Yeah,
I think in 2 weeks I'm gonna have a new product that you guys are gonna. I'll send you all guys a free copy of it. But it's a that's all I'm gonna say for now.
All right. Well, in the meantime, we love you all, and stay alive and stay safe, and Good luck out there. Peace.
Thanks.
Wait, this one.